All right. According to Streamlabs, we are now live, but let's hope that is not. Well, I'm sure it is by now. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining the very antisocial Christmas live stream. It is now, as we are speaking, I am currently surviving the greater Chicagoland area's out in extremely severe blizzard, which, for all I know, is killing thousands of people as a righteous act of God. I don't know if you guys are getting any of that, being a little farther south, but we are ostensibly alive for the moment. We're expecting several other people tonight, including my dear friend Kirk Pattycake, C.S. Johnson, Trip Parker, Ethan Collins, a couple other people, and is generally an open invite. So if anyone wants to just join in and hang out, they are more than welcome to. Beyond that, we'll just jump right straight into things. So joining us initially, as we kind of get started out, is Abby Libby, the host of Conspiracy Pilled and Last American Pubcast, and Sarah Harjett, who is the editor of How to Watch a Movie. How's it going tonight?
Good.
So I didn't really set up a specific theme, but before we do, jump in any conversation, I want to start out with every single guest answering 5 questions, just because it's Christmas and we kind of want to, end the year on a nice little optimistic note. So I guess just to jump out to start out with, what is your favorite thing about Christmas?
You go, Abby.
I think the nostalgia, or the way that things build up year after year, where you can have kind of a layered experience where it's like a cluster memory. Every Christmas you're experiencing every Christmas that ever came before, but then you also get to add to it. So because you don't want to live in the past, and you're not going to have a good time if you try to like constantly just relive the magic of the past instead of adding something new. But as an experience, I really like it quite a bit.
I just like the getting to slow down for a little while, hang out with family, and eat things that I wouldn't normally eat, like that kind of stuff.
So what was your favorite part of 2022?
That's a tough one too.
Tyler, I think it was the Nashville trip, when I went down to Nashville with my husband. I happened to meet Tyler while I was there. Met some other people like, Ben Shapiro and all of them, and, Tyler, Ben.
That was fun.
Chris. I met Chris and all the Daily Wire people, and in person all of the, No Soup for Knowles, and all of the Daily Wire super fan group, or whatever you would call them.
It's very strange because they're very dedicated, and they have a surprising number of actual connections to the Daily Wire, so they get to do weird things that no one else gets to do.
Yeah, the access is insane. I guess I'm talking about them like I'm not one of them. I am. I don't know how it happened, but it happened.
Yeah, there's just like a handful of people that just have like super insane networking connections, so they can just do whatever they want.
I guess so.
Which is nothing wrong with that. There's nepotism makes the world go round at this point. So
yeah, just make friends, and good things will happen, I guess.
So number 3 is what is your favorite thing you've read or watched this year?
Did Sarah say her favorite part of 2022?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know. I act as a hobby. And over the summer, I got my first lead role I was in The Robe. So that was pretty cool.
That's amazing. I act as a hobby as well.
Oh, nice.
My last one was, we did A Christmas Carol, but it was an immersive experience. So it was just a Fezziwig ball, and then people could come and dance as an event, and then the scenes were interspersed, and I played Belle. So it wasn't a lot of lines, but it was a really fun experience. So
Nice.
Is the robe the same as the movie version of the robe from the 1950s?
Yes, it's a play. I mean, it's not like based on the play is not based on the movie. The play is based on the book, and then the movie is also based on the book. So there's some differences, but yeah.
Okay, because I watched that for the first time earlier this year, and it was really good. So I assumed that they were the same, and I was happy that you had been cast in that.
Yeah,
How
it was a
often
good.
do
it was
you-
good part.
I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
go
How often do you do plays?
I'm with a company right now that does 4 shows a year, but I haven't been doing every show, and then I do another company that does 1 show a year. So it's
Okay.
about an average of 4 shows a year right now.
So you're pretty much always working on something.
Yeah. We're working on Secret Garden right now.
I love that. What are you in Secret Garden?
I'm Mrs. Medlock.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so much fun. Theater is so much fun, and the type of people who do theater are so much fun to be around.
Mm.
When was the last time you did theater?
I just finished up that Christmas Carol when I was talking about
Right.
first week of December.
Very nice.
Wish we could have run it.
I have not done theater since high school. Relegated me to be the sound booth guy, but I was briefly a theater kid, and then I think they figured out I couldn't act, so they put me they put me in the booth.
I just play the same character over and over. I don't have a lot of range.
Well, it helps. If you have range, they'll put you anything, especially nowadays.
Yeah,
So
theater's
number
a lot of
3, what was your favorite thing you read or watched this year?
Trying to think what I did read this year.
I know.
The watch should be easier for you, Sarah. You're a movie critic.
That one's hard too because nothing good came out this year.
Oh crap!
Well, that's true.
Oh no, I know what my favorite thing I watched this year was. Why didn't they ask Evans?
Really?
It was on BritBox. It was a mini series. It had Will Poulter and Lucy Boynton in the lead roles, and it was so cute. It was wonderful.
I'm not familiar with this. All I know about BritBox is that you can watch like obsessive amounts of Doctor Who classic on it.
Yeah, lots of British mysteries on there too. Yeah, there's not actually a lot on there that I will watch, but I was really glad we had that for that show because it was really, really good.
Let's see. I always forget everything I've ever watched or read when people ask me a question like that. Welcome to Wrexham, the documentary that Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney made about how they bought the Wrexham football team, the Wrexham soccer team in Wales, was just it was so heartwarming and just warm fuzzies. And I like sports enough to.
Ryan Reynolds has a weird amount of investing in things. Like
yeah.
I forget what it was, but isn't he the guy that owns Boost Mobile?
Yeah, he owns like really random stuff.
And Aviation Gin.
Yep, the gin company.
I've tried it.
I just remember I was watching television for the first time in like 8 years last month, and the Boost Mobile trailer came on. And I was like, I'm Ryan Reynolds, and I believe in Boost Mobile. Like I did so much, I bought the company. I'm like, what? I mean, good for you. Invest your money, but so number 4. What is the cringiest thing you've seen, read, or watched this year?
Oh no,
that's a hard one.
I'll throw out the Neil Breen's trailer for his newest movie, but I don't know if you guys have seen that.
What's it called?
Neil Breen, the actor.
The movie?
He's like movie? Tommy Wiseau. He's like one of those kind of so bad it's good guys.
Oh dear.
That's a rabbit hole for you, Sarah. You need to look into Neil Breen.
I have several authors that I have enjoyed up until this year who are now just starting to dive off the deep end into wokeness. Like they are capable of writing good stories. Marissa Meyer is an example. She wrote Cinder, and she wrote basically futuristic sci-fi retellings of fairy tales, and they were really, really good for young adults. And then I read something new of hers this year, and it was just trash.
I read Cinder this year.
I love this. Yeah, all of her stuff up until this year was and the book she published last year was really good, and then she kind of dropped off.
Did she do sequels to Cinder? Because it ended like it needed a sequel. I was like,
that whole series was really good. Yeah.
I guess I should go try to find. I found it at a Durham rescue mission, so
Yeah.
I don't know where I communicated the rest of them.
What did she do that went off the deep end?
It was one called Gilded, which is another fairy tale, but it just was. You know how you get an author who just disconnects from truth, and
Yeah.
like the writing is fine, but like you just don't tell a good story.
Yeah.
And then her pantheon of gods that was in the fairy tale were like she made a whole point about them being non-binary, or it was just weird. She got into the gender stuff. I didn't like it.
Well, there's no shortage of cringe in the book department.
Indeed.
So last question, we can just kind of use this as the transition into whatever we whatever's on our way we want to discuss going forward. What are your current projects that beyond what people might know you're currently working on? Like, what are you excited about? What are you working on right now? What do you want people? What are you looking forward to the next couple months as you work on them?
I'll let you go first, Sarah.
Well, Secret Garden comes to mind. We're going to start rehearsing that in January. But no one here is going to be able to see it. So, I mean, I'm also working on a second draft of a novel that I'm kind of stuck on. So I keep being like, oh, it's Christmas break, so it's time to write, but I haven't written since the last show closed. So I don't know. Maybe I'll get back into that in a minute.
Well, I've got several author friends that are going to be jumping on within the next hour or so. So maybe we can get them to bully you to give you some encouragement to get it done.
Yeah, I don't know what I need. I need some brain space, I guess.
Have you been able to name what your hang up is with it?
I think I don't like the third act. So I did write the first draft, and I'm like writing the second one off of it, and I feel like I need to add something in there or change something, and I don't really know what, because once I write something, it feels like it's set in stone for me, and I have a really hard time changing it. Right. So I don't really know where to go when I need to change something.
Yeah. I have one I've been working on for a long time. I wrote it, the first draft, maybe like 5-6 years ago now, in my sophomore year of college, which maybe it was even like longer than that, and I kept revising it every year. And last year I looked at it and I was like, look, I can keep revising this over and over, but I think the bones aren't good.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard to tell what part of the bones are the bad part.
Right.
Sometimes.
And sometimes I think you've just been over it too much. You can't even see it anymore.
Yeah, and you're like inside your head on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I need to let somebody else see it. Just be like, this might be crap, but I genuinely don't know.
Yeah. Someone who's like really good. Say what?
That's the terrifying thought, is like, what is the rubber going to meet the road on this?
Right. Right. And I'm at a point where I could give it up, but I don't know if I should. Like if I knew it was bad and it wasn't salvageable, I would just put it away and it would be fine. But I think it's the thought that like, but maybe it is good. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's a masterpiece and you're just letting it sit there.
Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's like good for first. Because it's like I can't get until I decide whether it's worth continuing or worth setting aside. I can't do anything else. So
you can't like work on another book?
No. I tried.
My problem is that I have like 3 or 4 ideas for another book that are like in my head ahead of this one. And I'm like, no, I can't start those until I finish this. But I would if I could.
I've done a little bit. I've teased out some other ideas, but I can't really get inside them. I can't care about them as much.
Well,
my friend Kirk Pattycake mentions I never read a book that couldn't have been helped with dev edits. So,
what dev edits?
I assume some sort of developmental edits, or like she says. But yeah, sometimes you need someone else just to help you spot the missing part in the heart. So outside feedback is critical.
I have no idea who I would trust to do that for me. That would be really hard.
anonymous strangers on the internet, obviously. People who don't know you and will throw the most vicious possible criticism at you.
Yeah, but who would you know that you like would like understand what you're trying to go for, even when it's like a really big mess, you know? Like they might see something good in it that you're completely missing and not know how to tell you what it is. Or like they do tell you, and then you're like, well, that's not what I wanted at all.
No, I get that. I used to do a lot of short film stuff, and the last project I ever tried to work on, I got into a pretty big creative disagreement with the guy who wrote the base script, because he sent me a script that I just hated and I didn't think it was workable. So I decided to just rewrite it from the ground up using his ideas. I sent it back to him. And he said, "Why did you do that to it?" I'm like, "Because I don't want to direct the other one."
That's such a no-no for writers.
That's a tough one.
It was one of those things where we'd considered trying to collaborate on it, but like I just, knowing the way how I would shoot and direct short films, I'm like, I don't know how I can make this work. But it was all in his head, so I'm like, okay, this is how I would do it, and I sent him my draft, and like he's like, but you took out all the good parts. I'm like, well, what were the parts you wanted to keep in?
Man.
It's really easy to make that, something works in your own head, then you hand it to someone and it doesn't work, but it's you don't know until you hand it to someone, especially just someone who doesn't know what you're going for, and just to get the feedback of, what do you think I'm going for?
Yeah.
And then you can kind of just base your structure around that. Granted, I don't do as much creative writing anymore, so I'm not the best resource on this. But
I think it's tough too. Like, if you give it to somebody right after you finish it, then you're so much more like emotionally attached. Whereas I think if I gave my manuscript to somebody now, I just wouldn't care. Like, it would just be like, because I'm detached from it.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Most of the time, I find that my writing it's bad if I just write a single draft of it and send it out. But if I, write it, ignore it for a week, come back to it, and then I'm like, oh wow, this is incredibly stupid. Why would I write that? But then you can actually kind of see the flow of the thing without being in your head.
Yeah. And then when you take a break and come back and you're like, oh wow, this is better than I remember. That's such a good ego boost.
Well, that's what happens is I'm like, yeah, it's crap. And then I look back at it and I'm like, wait, it's fine. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
Weird thing for me is when I go back and read some of my old film essays, I just think, how the frick did I write this? I can't write this right now.
Yeah, I wish I could write like I used to be able to write.
It's weird because I'm technically a better writer than I was like 4 or 5 years ago. But then I'll go back and read something. It's like, I wonder what I wrote on this. I'm like, dang, this is good. I wish I could write that now. Like, how did that work? How'd that happen?
I read this poem one time and I have never been able to find it again, which frustrates me. But the gist of it was like, I'm a tough act to follow. Whenever I compare myself to my best days in anything, I can't measure up.
Yeah. So I guess did we? You didn't answer the fifth question, Abby.
Oh, I did. Oh, projects.
Oh,
I got talking about.
Well, I think for you it's probably just more continuation of what you're doing, because obviously you've started 2 huge projects this year. So
yeah, they kind of just. So background. A year and a half ago, I started, podcasting a little bit, like appearing on other people's podcasts and recording stuff from time to time to just more long form my tweets. And it just received good feedback and it was fun. So I decided to just try to do it. So I did like a really low effort podcast for a year where, I didn't do a ton of work scripting. I just sat down and recorded for half an hour, either with a guest or just by myself. And I was underneath the umbrella of a website called Daily American Press, which is no longer, the guy who was running it got rid of it, but
he's no longer doing that?
Yeah, I don't know. I got done. because I got, opportunities to move up in the world, past the baby podcast I was doing, and then it didn't take him long to shut the site down. I think that like he needed the podcast to keep going. I didn't realize like when I quit it that was going to happen, but it did. So I think his views had been dropping off and they were being bolstered by the podcast. And once the podcast was gone, he realized just how much it wasn't happening for him the way he wanted it to. It wasn't bad at all, but he wanted it to be more, and it wasn't. And it wasn't worthwhile to him to keep doing it.
George is a very good writer. I hope he ends up taking what he did with Daily American Press and tries to move it somewhere else. I know up until recently he was talking about trying to do some kind of revamp with Ginger Man editorial and myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't heard about it in a while, so it's possible that idea might have fallen off. But I don't want to speak for him. Obviously, he might be trying to revamp it, he might not. But that's his doing, so I don't want to throw anything, throw any assumptions. You can do. Yeah, I hope he keeps finding an outlet though, because his writing is very good.
Yeah. I think he has a good thing. I don't know if. I mean, I think the context wasn't working for him.
The blogosphere is a very hard space to operate in, though.
So it is.
You really need to have a good outlet and a good, circle of people that surround you. And in my experience, I didn't get any success writing until I figured out a way to sell to other people. So,
yeah, the space is hyper saturated, and like even when I was doing the podcast for him, and just there really isn't space for another voice in politics, especially not one at the level I was at. Like you either have to be really, really good, or you have to be in a niche no one's in, or not very many people are in, and you kind of need to be both. And I'm having a lot of success with the conspiracy podcast because that is a niche no one's in. Most people who have podcasts about conspiracy theories are liberal or like weirdly new agey, and so there's room for something new to grow there, and there just isn't in the political commentary space.
Yeah, and I think it helps too that YouTube is so bad with actually giving conspiracy podcasts an actual outlet. Like I can count on maybe one hand the number of major conspiracy podcasts that are actually still on YouTube that actually discuss real conspiracy theories, and they're not just whatever the mainstream acceptable version of this is. Like you guys go really hard in your discussions.
Yeah, and we do about double the numbers on Rumble that we do on YouTube.
Really? Good grief.
Yeah. So there's just a lot more space on Rumble to say what you want, and the algorithm is kinder.
Well, since I'm not in that threat of losing demonetization, what do you think of the whole that JFK CIA drop that just happened this week?
I haven't dug too far into it. I've always been a little bit unsure what I believed about the JFK assassination. So, but I want to do an episode on it soon, so I'll have an answer for you in a couple months for sure.
Oh man. I imagine it's going to take a while to actually dig through all the paperwork, but
yeah.
I get the feeling there's going to be like a couple of nuggets, but it's just going to be black bars the whole way. It's like
probably
like CIA black bar, black bar, black bar, black bar, black bar, JFK black bar, black bar. It's like we know the subtext. We know what that's supposed to mean. What are you and your partner currently working on for that show at the moment?
Well, I'm going up there and meeting him. My husband and I are driving to Michigan and getting to be out in the same location. So we're gonna do Flat Earth next week just because it's fun. It's a really fun conspiracy to talk about because it's wild, but it's one of those things where it's like you don't believe it, but there are some compelling arguments, and then you have to like ask yourself, why are these arguments compelling? Why are they here? So it's really fun.
That's cool.
Do you do it mostly just to entertain the idea, or do you? How many of the ideas you kind of float around with that are you really hardcore in what you believe?
I think a lot of what we do is look at a topic and say, okay, this is the fact pattern. This is what doesn't make sense about the, accepted narrative. And then here's a variety of other theories. And we kind of like this one. And I have an overarching framework where, like, I think if you believe the Bible, you believe in demons, and then there's a lot of applications of how that can look. So maybe I don't believe in Bigfoot as written in the lore, but maybe I do believe a demonic being walks around or makes himself known or something like that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with a lot of the kind of ideas that you kind of play with. It can be hard at times because a lot of the evidence that tends to pop up for these stories it can be inconclusive or not entirely clear what the actual underlying truth is. Like I remember the CERN video, which I just watched a day or two ago, which super fascinating. Like
right.
I'm generally on the side that I assume that I think I'm on Cactus's side that says they're kind of just big nerds that are just trying to see what they can do. But then you just see the weird friggin' satanic rituals happening like at the front gate, and you're just like, what the?
Yeah, you're like,
it's like, what are you doing? It's like it's so easy to just be like, oh, this is just they're play acting. It's mundane. It's not a big deal. But it's always just the festering sores of on the surface of the thing that make you wonder, like, what is happening? It's like the have you guys done Denver Airport yet?
Not yet. We need to.
Oh my gosh! So I've been to Denver Airport twice, and it's a lot more mundane in person. But when you see the details, it is freaking creepy. Like it's like I don't know why you would do the things you did to that airport if you were just doing something innocent. But
right.
And then again, the alternative question is, well, what is the reason why you would make a satanic airport in Denver? Like, why would you do that?
Great question.
It's a lot of effort for something really stupid.
Oh man. Yeah. Sarah, do you have any favorite conspiracy theories?
I like the flat Earth one.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I don't believe it, but I enjoy it a lot. I know someone in real life that is a flat earther, and they're very amusing.
They are. They're always like, "Wake up, sheeple!"
He's not like annoying about it, so it's fun. And my dad likes conspiracy theories too. He thinks that aliens are demons and that sort of thing.
I hear that one a lot.
Everything is demons.
Yeah. One of the things
that's the easy explanation, at least until one of them comes down to Washington and starts trying to preach on the Capitol steps and starts asking, starts trying to say something. But
it's easy until you think through the implications of it sometimes.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where I don't want to make a judgment on the UFO demon thing specifically until there's any amount of evidence that isn't a blurry dot. But I'm entertained by the theories nonetheless. I want to know if Satan is sending his best to tempt humanity into science.
It could also be angels. They're just zooming around, checking us out.
I've heard that one too. Yeah, they're biblically accurate angels shooting laser beams.
What about ghosts? You guys believe in ghosts?
I have a fairly complex framework for it, if you want to hear it.
Yeah, go.
Okay, so there's a couple different types of ghosts in the lore. Like if you kind of aggregate all the reports, there's two types. Hello.
We were just talking about ghosts and conspiracy theories, but
okay. I was like, wait, ghosts? What are we doing?
It's Christmas. We have to talk about ghosts.
We have to talk about ghosts.
I guess, yeah. So the different types of ghosts is like past, present, future. Is that what we're saying?
Which Abby was just explaining her personal cosmology for whether or not ghosts exist or not.
I see. Okay.
But just a quick introduction, if anyone doesn't know, this is Trip Parker. He is an AI ethicist, and he's a good guy. Met him in person earlier this year. He's done a ton of live streams, doing Christian apologetics. Anything you want to say about yourself additionally, or?
Nope, that's pretty much it. Live in Charleston, so just getting my kids in the bath and stuff. So just wrapping down the day.
Okay, I'm introducing every guest with five Christmas questions, but I kind of want to finish the chain of thought we're going through.
I want to hear about the ghosts.
Okay, so if you aggregate all of the ghost reports and stories that people say, oh, I've seen something, I've experienced this, you get two different types. You have kind of I saw this apparition. This is kind of like this sad murdered lady in a graveyard. Generally speaking, they're not particularly malevolent, and they seem to be more like you have a story of somebody who died violently or unjustly, or there's something unfinished about it in those stories. And then in the other part of the other category, you have more poltergeist type activity where it is malevolent, and whatever the being is seems to be keen on upsetting, scaring. It's more, and it seems to be able to do more in the physical world. As far as, if you just look at the stories, if you just believe the stories, they're in those two categories. So you have to, here, I'll pause. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Ian. We're currently discussing conspiracy theories and ghosts at the moment.
I was hearing about the ghosts. I am something of a ghost expert myself, having books about them. But go on.
Okay.
Very nice.
Okay,
So,
we're going to continue with this line of thought, and I'm going to have to ask you the Christmas questions too. But we have to, we got to let Abby finish the thought.
Yeah. Tell us.
So you have sad, unjustly dead people, and then you have poltergeists. And I think all of the poltergeist types of stories, at least the ones that are true, would be demons, right? But then some of you have in Genesis where Cain kills Abel, and then God's like, hey, I can hear his blood crying out from the ground. I think some of these ghost stories are blood crying out from the ground. You see them a lot clustered around battlefields, specifically Civil War battlefields. There's a lot around where I live. If you walk around them, you can kind of feel it. You're like, oh, something bad happened here. But I think some
do
people
you think
just,
there's actually, do you think that there's actually something, or do you think that the knowledge that there was something is what gives you that feeling?
I think it's both.
Okay.
Because
I can just imagine if someone tells me, like, hey, they set me up and we're like, hey, there was a horrific murder in this house, like, and those kind of things, and they're like, it could be, even if it was completely made up, send me in there and I'll be like kind of looking around, be like, something's weird and that kind of stuff. So I'm just wondering whether or not the knowledge that this is a Civil War battleground is it a symptom, or is it is it like my mind playing tricks on me?
Well, you definitely have a tipping point in certain areas where once you get a certain number of ghost stories in the area, then everybody who ever comes sees a ghost. So I think that there's a line at which it's not real anymore. But I do think that there's a record in the ground sometimes.
I've definitely been into a house before that felt wrong, and then later was told that it was supposed to be haunted or something, or that the lady that was living there had demon problems and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think it. But my dad thinks that even the sad lady that's been killed thing is maybe she had a demon attached to her in life, and then when she died, the demon didn't want to go back to hell, so he just thought that he was the person or something. So then he kind of keeps living as that person for a while or something. Which is, I think, an interesting idea, at least.
I kind of consider all ghosts to be a demon in some form, because a demon and the devil doesn't have to convince you that, or ghosts can be anything. They can be malevolent or they can be kind. All Satan has to do is to convince you that God is not the way. So if he can get you with, this kind person that is your grandmother is actually your grandmother, then you're going to believe that there is something different than heaven. So he doesn't have to attack you with malicious ghosts. And so that's kind of how I see it. Even the benign looking ones are still the devil trying to play a trick on you.
Yeah, that could be.
It really depends on your theology of the soul, because I mean, it seems like different religious denominations have different attitudes on this. If you're strict Protestant, it's pretty much there are no ghosts. You go straight to heaven or hell. Or if you're Catholic, you can be you can be trapped in a middle state where you're not entirely you haven't worked through it all the way, but you might be able to go to one or the other depending on what happens to you. And then there's like offshoot ideas to that, like C.S. Lewis in The Great Divorce talks about the idea that souls in hell would go to Earth just to mess with people as a prank. It's hard to guess though, because ghosts seem to be such a universal phenomenon where everyone seems to know someone who has experienced it or has personally experienced it, where you just get that sixth sense that there's something wrong with the place, and you may not know what it is or why. So it really just depends on what you believe.
But there are, like, even for a Protestant, there are, like, doesn't Samuel at some point kind of, it's kind of different. It's kind of like a ghost where he's like talking with someone who's like gets like a witch or something like that to commune with the dead. So you still do have like something like that. And then after Jesus, there are, he dies, then there were the people that came and, appeared to people in Jerusalem right around the time. And that doesn't seem to be like the devil playing a trick on anyone or anything, but it also wasn't like a full resurrection story. It's not like glorified body either. And so you have you do, even as a Protestant, I have trouble with that. Like, okay, these are like in between kind of stories, right?
Well, the appearance of the prophet in the book of Samuel, I just read this during my Bible study recently. It's really weird because
doesn't he use a medium or something?
Yes. They go to a necromancer, and
the
necromancer calls up the soul, and it says, "Bring me the soul of Samuel." And the necromancer freaks out because she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm summoning a demigod!" And Samuel appears before her, and she just freaks out. And it kind of has like elements of like the shade theology of like the ancient Greeks, where you'd like summon someone up and you just bring up like a portion of their soul that's like not entirely complete, but it's kind of hollowed out, and there's like a little bit of their being left, but it's not the same thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that like even a Protestant theologically still has to deal with those like instances, right? It can't just be like there's still something weird going on there,
My best projection of what ghosts looks like in real life is the way that I wrote them in my books.
How did you write them?
Yeah, how was that?
So people are getting murdered. It's set in Baltimore. People get murdered, and then they're taken over to judgment by Karen to cross the river Styx. Well, the people that reject going to judgment jump into the river Styx, and they drowned on regret, which sends them back to the living area, but they can't continue life because they're dead. So the only people that can recognize them are those that know what their soul looks like. However, since they're drowned on regret, they're just fueled by rage and destruction to get everything that they didn't get while they were alive. But it's just a human soul that's rejected judgment and rejected the natural order, and so their soul is corrupted.
Here's a case for you, a real life one. So C.S. Lewis had a good friend named Sheldon Van Auken. C.S. Lewis was part of the conversion story of Sheldon and his wife. They attribute their salvation to C.S. Lewis. And Sheldon's wife died young. And he wrote a book about it called A Severe Mercy, which is a beautiful love story, beautiful book about his wife and their relationship and their friendship with C.S. Lewis and all that. Highly recommended. But in it, toward the end, he's talking about after she died, and he says that there was a period of time where he could really clearly feel her in the room, looking over his shoulder, reading his journals. And then there was a very clear moment where she left, where it was like, I was able to stay with you for a month or however long it was, and now I have to go. And if I didn't find him so credible on every other thing in his book and from his worldview, I would find it difficult to accept that. But I kind of just take it for what it is.
But he never like actually saw her physically?
No.
That's interesting. That almost feels like the most real version of a ghost possible. Like her spirit was actually on Earth, kind of thing.
Yeah, that God just allowed her to take a few minutes.
Yeah. My dad has seen ghosts, but they were always shadow people.
Mm.
And my sister saw one too. So that's the only like physical version of a ghost I've ever heard of seeing.
Yeah. I like your idea of maybe the demon attached to them as they lived and then continued on. And I think that also works if you have the blood crying up from the ground. It's just a record. It's just a story. It's not the person's
It
soul.
wouldn't be the actual person. It's just like, yeah.
But then if a demon is like, I'm going to pretend that I am this. So like attaches itself to the record.
Yeah. Or even are convinced that they are them sort of thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then they would actually be, they wouldn't like be pretending to cry out. They actually would be kind of thing.
Oh, interesting. Like almost forced to bear witness to it.
Yeah. Or something.
Has anyone here actually encountered a ghost or said it personally?
No, I haven't.
I grew up in a haunted house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I didn't. I don't know. Sometimes it's just like you don't want to talk about it because you don't want to touch it. But it was more of the poltergeist type stuff, like more malevolent feeling. And it just seemed pretty clear that there was some sort of demonic thing that had been attached to the upper corner of the house. There was a little like closet cutout space that would have been really fun to like play in as a kid if it wasn't so creepy. Like when we first met the house, we were like, oh, this is so fun. We're going to be in here all the time playing. It'll be our fort. And then we just never wanted to be in there.
Wow.
And my sister was the one who lived in the room like right adjacent to it. And so she will tell stories of just like very terrible dreams and creepy stuff. And I experienced less of it, but I never saw anything. But we were also like very strong believers. I think it knew that it could like try to scare us, but it couldn't actually touch anything.
I technically lived in a haunted house, but I never saw anything. In high school, my mom briefly rented a house on the Fox River in Illinois, and just up the hill there was a stone that said that this had been a Native American tribe at one point. And I never saw anything. I never heard anything. But my mom swears up and down that she heard people walking across the roof every single night, and she ended up putting a dream catcher, and it stopped. So I don't know what means.
My neighbors swear there's a ghost that's in their house, like legitimately. I live in a very old house. It's like built in 1880. And the one next to me is even older than that. And so they swear that there's this girl that sometimes appears in their kitchen or their dining room. And it's like visible. Because I was asking, I was like, is this just like a feeling? Or do you know, like, no, we see it. And
wow.
I don't know what to do with that because I'm more on the skeptical side of these kind of things. But like they swear, and otherwise they're sane people. So it's not like crazy.
You also live in an area where the average age of each house is older than the Civil War. So I can imagine...
this is all like Civil War or Revolutionary War era houses. Yeah, so they're all very old. So, but that's always my question is because it is so old. You know, there's so many people that have lived here before. Does that knowledge influence like? But then, like, you know, when I say that, some people skeptical of my position, which is like the more skeptical one of ghosts, will say, well, but maybe your knowledge of that makes you more in tune to see what's actually there. And that's why, so like maybe like the fact that you know this is actually not evidence that it's being made up, but your knowledge of it makes you more likely to see something that's actually there. Whereas if you were oblivious to it, you're just not even considering it. So like, I'll just walk around and I've never had those kind of experiences. So I don't know.
Anastasia Cosmo texted me and reminded me of a story she told me. Because essentially, if you're like the most superstitious people you'll ever meet are cops, because they see crap they cannot explain. She told me one story in LA how there was a very strange incident where someone was reporting screaming in the middle of the road, and so the cops come down there and they hear it. They're like, okay, there's someone around. We need to figure out where they are and try to help them because they're probably in distress. So they hear it, they track it down verbally, and there's nothing there. Then they hear the scream again on the street over. So okay, we'll turn around and go there, see if we can find it. And again, nothing. They do this for hours, and they just keep hearing blood-curdling screams on the streets of Los Angeles everywhere they go. And eventually they talk to people and they find out that this is just a regular occurrence there. And the best they can tell is that this is an example of a Hispanic superstition of a woman who is tied to cartel violence, that there is some sort of supernatural being that appears wherever there's high amounts of cartel activity that basically exists as like a suffering being that kind of just is in eternal anguish around where that kind of awful stuff happens. So, if you want to, the cops tend to be pretty straightforward about this stuff because they see it.
Well, whatever is going on, whatever the answer is, there is definitely a casual everyday mysticism that is somewhere that creates these shared experiences that everybody has that we're just not sure what exactly it is.
Another kind of layer to the theory. Oh, hello.
Hey, dude, sickle.
God dang it. So I guess we'll take this opportunity to play the 5-question game and just do more introductions since we haven't done that in a little bit. But do you want me to say your first name, or do you want to just go by Dude Sickle? Can you hear me?
That's totally fine. Hey, can you hear my microphone?
I can hear you. I just didn't know if you could hear us.
Yeah. I wanted to test the equipment. That's why I was trying to do that. The invite.
Oh. Sorry, did not realize that that you were pre-showing. So, do you want to keep pre-showing, or do you want to come back do you want to jump in at it? He can't hear me, so we're just gonna move on. So I guess just to introduce, we introduced Trip. Kirk Pettycake is a author. She's published 5 books. She is the regular host on YouTube of her Kirk Pettycake YouTube channel. She's been on my podcast multiple times. She's also She won an award earlier this year for her satire "Boom Boom Boom," and she is also public enemy #1 for saying nice things about Russia on the internet. How's it going?
Public enemy #1 for mocking the feds and winning an award for it.
Yes, sir.
And we also have Steve, one of my IRL friends. He is a drummer in Guap Squad Gang.
Oh, now it makes sense.
I have no idea if he can hear me or not.
He looks like a drummer.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Is the microphone working?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Hey, how's it going?
It's
good.
going.
So, do you have a ghost story you want to contribute to this, or?
I don't really have a ghost story, but when I was a child, I grew up in this town called Midlothian, and the thing that they're super famous for is this place called Bachelor's Grove. It's supposed to be the most haunted spot in Illinois.
Ooh.
Really?
Yeah, like it was on the History Channel and stuff back in the day. It was kind of funny, but they always seem to, exaggerate what happened. They would say Al Capone would bury his victims there and stuff. I don't know if that happened, but it's an interesting thing. I visited there multiple times. The only frightening thing that happened to me when I was there, because all right, so a little background. It's in the middle of the woods. You have to park blocks away, and you have to go through the foliage or whatever. And it's this little private graveyard that's been around since the 1800s. And it's surrounded by a pond. But like I said, supposedly there's a lot of supernatural things. I've been there multiple times during the day, during the night. But the only scary thing that ever happened to me is when I got a trespassing ticket by the police. They stick up around there in October because it's the spooky month, and I went there with a couple buddies, and they ambushed us. It was the scariest thing I ever seen.
So it's a liberal Christmas tale. You're walking through the forest, and all of a sudden, the police jumped out.
No, for real. Technically, it's yeah. I don't know. It's all on YouTube and stuff. It's a famous place and for paranormal activity.
I don't know why, but I'm from Illinois too. My association with haunted stuff is always Joliet, because I think you told me the most haunted house there is in Joliet, right?
I I may have. I don't know. But I supposedly obviously the Blues Brothers thing. The correction center or whatever.
Prison.
Yeah, correct. Supposedly that's haunted. So I don't know. I've been there a couple times, but I didn't see anything.
All right, we appear to have lost Trip. I don't know if we'll get him back or not, but
the ghost scared him off.
Look, I've always had great luck using a spirit box, and then I just harass them. And then
do you have one of those special recorders that lets you do the spirit stuff? Or
oh no! So I went to the Ripley's Believe It or Not in St. Augustine, and then did the ghost tour thing in that, where they actually just give you ghost equipment and you walk around. So I was harassing the hitman ghost the entire time. But then also, when I play the game Phasmophobia, where you're actually just a ghost hunter, I usually take the ghost box and I go in and I just start calling the ghost name, and I'm always the first one to die. So, I've got it down.
My dad's texting me right now being like, why are you talking about ghosts?
Because they're fun.
But I will offer as a corrective that in traditional European Christmases, ghost stories are actually considered a Christmas tradition. So This is not out of theme. So
that's right.
I mean, that's what Christmas Carol is.
Exactly. Yeah, Charles Dickens.
Anyway, so we have not played the 5 questions with Trip, Steve, or Ian yet. Just
go.
It's just simple stuff. Just talking about things. First question is, what is your favorite thing about Christmas? Who wants to donate their body to science first?
Nothing at all.
Thanks, Steve. Great.
That's very punk rock.
Oh man.
I don't know. The last couple of Christmases have been really hard for me. Like last year, I didn't even spend Christmas with my family. I was in a hotel on Christmas Eve. So I don't really have great memories right now for Christmas.
Oh.
So I mean, I guess in general, let's just say the reminder to be grateful that you're still alive, I guess, most of the time.
Well, there you go.
Absolutely.
Trip.
Oh, he's like, no, I'm not. No, donate to science. He's like, I can't be the third buzzkill in a row.
He hasn't texted me, so I don't know if his internet is down or something. But
how's the weather by everyone here?
Number two. What is your favorite part of 2022?
I got to see you in Nashville. That was really nice.
Oh yeah, that was
fantastic. Yeah, that was awesome.
My best friend came down in July for an anime convention where he was tabling. He made a lot of money.
Sick.
And then we went to the beach and I almost died. And then on the way back from the beach, as we drove out to Clearwater, the cement was so hot because we are so dumb that we decided to drive back into town at like 4 o'clock, the hottest part of the day and the hottest month of the year. And so the cement was so hot that one of our tires popped and we spent 2 or 3 hours on the side of the road waiting for a tow truck to come.
Oh my God. You could totally, you could cook an egg on that. That's crazy.
And then
oh
the
my
people
God.
that I was with, we were right by the inlet. And so then she walked by the water. I was staying by the car waiting for the tow truck. And then she found watermelons just floating in the water.
What is an inlet?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Did I miss how you died?
There's just a beach. I got sunsick. I was in the.
Oh.
I'm like super. I live in Florida, but I'm super sensitive to the sun because I'm Nordic and I'm from Alaska. And so like
Florida's pretty nice.
Didn't put on enough sunscreen. And so then I actually got sunsick to the point that I had 2nd-degree burns all over my legs and my shoulders the next day.
Man.
And for like
gosh.
3 weeks I could barely walk because I was so sunburned. And so that's more or less how I almost died is I got sunsick and then I got a fever and then I had 2nd-degree burns.
Oh man.
Damn,
for
that's
about
terrible.
a month.
Sunburn is no joke.
You doing okay, Trip?
Yeah, just having internet issues here. It's probably just cold. Everything stops working in Charleston.
Yeah, this weather sucks.
Yeah, are you guys getting hit by this blizzard too? Or
Yep.
70, 86 degrees.
Ah.
Oh my gosh, we're all in blizzard territory except for Ian. So Trip, favorite thing about Christmas and favorite thing about 2022.
No.
Not.
Rejected.
He has successfully refuted my attempts at questions. So he might just have to be the exception to this game for now. But next two are just what was the favorite thing you read or watched this year, and then the cringiest thing you read or watched this year.
Are you gonna make me open my tier list? I actually did a tier list for the books that I read this year. The best book that I read this year, easily Model Land by Tyra Banks. It was so much fun. It's like a dystopian model land, and there was like an arm eldritch creature, and just it was a good time. I don't know if I want to call it cringe, but Jack of Hearts is pretty terrible.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's cringe, but I know you have somewhat of a specialty industry in reading cringe on the internet, so I didn't know if you had any.
Luck was terrible. That was like a Donald Trump hate fiction where they went from his birth all the way up into him being an adult, just so that they could shit on this character that they made into a Donald Trump style character, and then like had him stabbed at an event where he was working people up in the crowd. Wild was really, I don't know if I would call Wild cringe. It was just bad because it was daddy-daughter erotica.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a co-host that I used to do a show with read it, and she was like, and I'm like, I'm just trying to get to know what these people read because I co-host with them. What the frick is this? That was pain. Manhunt was pain. It was a gender apocalypse story that starred 2 trans women and then a transgender man. Southern Book Club for Slaying Vampires was cringe. Dark Harvest by Will Jordan was cringe.
She reads it, so you don't have to.
I read a lot of things.
Yeah, it makes my reading list sound great this year.
Well, I'm going to my F tier list, so you get the worst.
Even the worst stuff I read was way better than that, I'm sure.
Yeah, she did a guest post on my my Cultural View blog where she went through Jack of Hearts pretty in depth, and everyone should go read that because she read one of the books that's being assigned to our children right now, and
in middle
bad.
school.
It is very, very bad.
I actually have an in-depth synopsis of that book and then some passages from it on my channel if you want to see what exactly is in that book.
Don't eat before you listen to it. It's
it's rough. I think that's the only book this year that actually made me sick, physically sick while reading it.
Yeah. How about Steve? What was your favorite thing, and then the cringiest thing you watched or read this year?
I don't know. I didn't really watch too much new stuff. I didn't mind the Elvis movie, but the weird CGI scenes and then like random hip hop tracks in it was kind of offsetting. I don't know. Like it was kind of weird. I don't know. And then for cringe, I don't know. I read a lot of really good stuff. I read this book called No Easy Answers, and it's about the Columbine massacre, but it came from the kid's friend, Brooks Brown, and it's a very interesting book. They, within their original plans, they wanted, if they were able to get away, they wanted to hijack a plane and crash it in New York. I'm not making this up. I'm adding that to my reading list right now. Yeah, it's called No Easy Answers by Brooks Brown. It's bizarre. It is so bizarre.
Steve, you don't know Abby Libby, but she does a conspiracy podcast.
Yeah, that's okay, cool. That's why I was I was kind of hesitant to do this, but I'm snowed in, I'm bored. I work got called off tomorrow, so
I'm just seeing Abby's response, and you're giving her ideas. It's
but that was really, I don't know. I don't know. I was like choosing some really good stuff. I read a lot of Charles Bukowski. I still got to finish it, but I'm reading, which is I should have read a long time ago. 1984 by George Orwell. I just started reading that. Yeah, I don't know. I've been reading some good stuff. So, yeah.
You know, I would have believed you if you put Elvis as both the best and the cringiest, because
Yeah, I'm trying to remember like what else came out this year that I really watched. Like, because the Jackass movie was last year, right?
Yeah, that was
okay. That was
like,
last year.
That was a Christmas movie, I think.
Yeah, I said I watched old stuff. Like, I don't know. You know me. I like DOA, Night of the Living Dead, stuff like that. So
I will say for the Elvis movie, like it's one of those movies where it's not bad, but there's enough moments in it that were meme worthy that it just became, you know, that weird combination where, like, I love the fact that the here's the thing, he's white became a meme just immediately after that.
Yeah.
Became out. It's like we found a hip young singer, he's white, and then you just see Tom Hanks seriously look, what?
Well, a thing with a lot of those you know, rock movies or whatever, or adaptations of musicians' lives or something, the Sid and Nancy movie from the 1980s, it's got the guy who was in The Dark Knight. Oh god, he was the detective. What's his name?
Aaron Eckhart?
The detective in The Dark Knight. Oh,
Gary
man.
Oldman.
Yes, he plays
right.
Sid. He plays Sid Vicious, and it's bizarre. So talk about weird quotes. There's a scene where he was at the Chelsea Hotel, and he came in. He's looking all scummy and stuff, and one of the employees at the hotel was just like, "Don't mess anything up. Bob Dylan was born here." And it was just so weird. It was like, no, he wasn't. What are you talking about? I don't know. It was just
That
Do you want?
that
Do you
part,
want? Go ahead.
sorry, that part about Elvis is actually true. Like that, even as a complete conservative who doesn't like to focus on race at all, like my mom told me, and she's, you know, very, very conservative, that Elvis was very, you know, got famous because he had a black voice and a white body during a time when that was what people wanted.
I know, but just the way they shot
Yeah.
it in the film, it's
Yeah.
just it's so funny. If you, I don't know if you've seen the scene, but
Yeah.
it's just, there's like this. It's supposed to be like super
Yeah.
dramatic and serious, but Tom Hanks is in a fat suit, and he's got this like, I found my star look on his
Yeah.
eye.
It's very Baz Luhrmann.
It's a little too on the
Exactly,
nose.
yeah. It's you have to watch the clip just to kind of get a sense of how silly it is. But Trip, do you want to answer any of the questions so far? Or?
he's having trouble, right?
I know. I just don't know if you.
But anyways, I'll talk about the Elvis movie. Fuck it, man. So I wish they would have included the early tours he did with Johnny Cash and Jerry Lee Lewis. That was really cool.
I agree. I mean, there's a lot of ways you could make those music biopics way more interesting than they actually are.
Yeah, and then he met the Beatles. They hung out and stuff. And then the bizarre incident when he rolled up to the White House to meet, Richard Nixon. They made HBO. It's called Elvis and Nixon. They made a movie about it. It's really good. Although Kevin Spacey is Nixon, so take it what you will. But
Did you see Weird?
No, I did not.
Okay, because there's a scene in that where they bring in like every comedy star of the 1980s, but they're all like being acted by a different modern comedy star. Like, it's
bizarre! Wow.
Yeah, weird movie, but well,
is it good? I didn't see it.
It's basically Weird Al doing a parody version of a music biopic in the style of a Weird Al song. So it's just kind of taking the piss.
But it's good.
Which I appreciate, because it would have been more boring if it was just a normal movie. But
you liked it though?
Yeah, it's good.
Oh yeah, I'll have to check it out. Yeah.
I will have to say for the meme that Avatar 2 was the best movie of the year.
You're just saying that because
It's the number one movie.
Is Meanie in
of
the
year.
chat? Are you?
And Manaya in the chat, no. But
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I've only, in every chat I've been in this week, is just people shitting on it, including people who haven't seen it shitting on it for days at a time. So
Really?
for the meme, it's the best movie.
I actually
this
did
year.
like it. I thought it was good. I feel bad for it, even though it's like obviously going to make a ton of money. But I don't get
feel
people
bad for
hating
James
on it
Cameron.
for no reason.
Did you see the footage of James Cameron flipping people off?
Yeah, that was very entertaining. But...
That was funny as hell.
Yeah, Ian, I know you, and you're like, you don't watch movies. It's like, is he off the side holding a gun to your head telling you to say nice things about Avatar?
No, I'm just kind of sick of people crapping on something that they haven't seen, they don't really care about, but it seems like it's cool to crap on somebody else's creative work. And like
the guy did Terminator.
I'm a creative person, and like you can not like it and have your opinions on not liking it, but the level of hounding in which it's getting, where it also seems like it's bullying people that did enjoy it to not share that they enjoyed it, has kind of been a lot for me to witness, and it's very annoying.
Yeah, it is.
And then they'll go, well, we're not bullying, but I'll sit in the chat and listen to people just crap on it again and again and again. And then they're like, I'm not bullying though. We heard you say all of this stuff yesterday. And then this person is excited to go see the movie, and you're trying to make them unexcited to go see the movie. I think you're bullying.
Damned if you do and damn what the people say.
Yep.
Yeah, I liked it. I
like the new Taylor Swift album. It was pretty badass.
Nice.
I liked it too.
Midnights. It's for me. It sounds like her trying to be like Lorde. If anyone remembers her.
If anyone remembers her.
Yeah, I mean, she had a couple hits, and then it kind of went away.
I remember when the dad from South Park put on a wig and
right.
I was gonna say South Park. You can't forget her.
Yeah, she was pretty good. The song Royals, but like I was listening to Taylor Swift album, and it's not bad. It's like synth pop. I really like the drum machine. I don't know. It's good sequencers.
One of my coworkers.
I guess I'm a Swiftie now.
one of my coworkers committed enough ritual blood sacrifices in order to get front row tickets at the Taylor Swift concert in Nashville.
Oh my God, those must have been so expensive.
Yeah,
I think blood sacrifice. So
yeah.
I mean, did you hear about the whole controversy around that?
Yeah. I was. That's why I like Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam. Can you hear me still?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why Pearl Jam protested Ticketmaster back in the 90s, because they knew that they were upcharging way too much money for tickets. Oh, man. This microphone's making noises.
We can still hear
I'm
you
told
though.
Abby needs to head out shortly. Do you want to end on anything?
Thank you guys for having me on, and the ghost conversation was a lot of fun. Have a good Christmas and a good night.
Meeting you.
Merry Christmas.
Good to meet you.
Bye.
Bye. But yeah, everyone should go subscribe to Conspiracy Pilled if they get a chance, because that is a very good podcast. You still there, Steve?
1 second.
I was gonna say, I just see an empty room at the moment. I didn't know if you had just decided to go away or not.
I don't know. I guess I have to use my internal mic. I was trying to set up my interface, but it wasn't working. I kept on hearing, on my end, feedback and stuff.
Mm.
Okay. We're not getting feedback on our end, so you're fine.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I think the only way we're going to get feedback on this is if one of us decides to blare the live stream into the microphone, which.
Yeah, I was trying not to do that, so I don't know. I got to look into it or whatever. Yeah.
That's fair. So, Ian, you've been talking a lot about the AI artwork stuff. Could you go a little bit into that and what's going on with that? Because I kind of gotten a little bit of the gist of it from your discussion, but I was hoping you might be able to explain what's going on there a little bit.
Oh, just, AI bros that have been scraping websites where artists post their portfolios and then training the AI robots to the AI programs to rip off that art style. And then 1, claiming to be artists, 2, selling the art, 3, trying to take jobs from artists using the artist's own art. 4, when artists speak out against their art being scraped so that their style can be stolen, they go and the AI guys go and deliberately target whoever just spoke out against them to maliciously train the robot to do their style more.
Ugh.
And then you've got people that are doing the AI stuff that are then applying for conferences and conventions, taking spots from real artists to then sell AI art, prints of art that they didn't make. And also people trying to copyright AI art generations that aren't theirs.
Well,
it's also funny because in the last 2 days, I saw the AI bros were freaking out because all of their requests for copyright were rejected for the AI stuff. People trying to do full comics. And then 2, there's infighting now among the AI people because other people that are doing the AI generations are finding out other people's prompts. And now they're accusing each other of plagiarizing by creating generations with the same prompt words. Meanwhile, they're saying, well, an artist can't copyright or claim their own art style. You have no right to that art style. But I have copyright over a handful of search terms in order to rip off another artist.
That's so stupid.
It's all dumb.
Well, the artist shouldn't be getting away with duct taping a banana to a wall. So
those aren't the artists that are
that's
getting
not
ripped
what
off.
they're copying.
but I'm just saying the AI looks more interesting.
But that's not the
Dude.
people that
I'm messing with you guys.
He exists for this side of things, so
I will fight you.
Oh man, no.
The swear words will come out.
I'm not getting monetized. So there's nothing you can take away from me. But are people other than like the people who are programming the AIs or who are chugging out the art? Is anyone actually defending it?
Defending the AI stuff?
Yeah.
It's generally all people that are racing to monetize. Oh yeah, because there are people that have now used AI to create images and then to do AI to make children's storybooks and then post both written and visual stuff that they did not create with their name on it on Amazon to charge people for it. So you've also got the monetization to that extent. And I'm expecting if this continues in the way that it is, you've already got the overlap of copyright where musicians, I've seen indie musicians, have artwork that is a derivative of somebody else's artwork as the covers for their albums. And that's a problem because I have purchased commissioned art for my stories. And what these people are doing is I'd have to pay extra in order to have a commercial license to sell any of the commissioned art that I've gotten. But I haven't paid for that because I have no reason to sell it. However, what some of these people are doing is say, I just commissioned this art piece. Somebody takes that art piece that I commissioned that I can't sell. They put it in an AI generation. The generation creates a derivative, and then they start selling this thing that I don't even have the right to sell. And then it teaches the robot how to do the art style that they just stole. So that's happening. And there was somewhere else I was going to go with that, and I don't remember what it was. This especially got started a month or two ago from somebody immediately training an AI to copy a mangaka's style within a week of after he died.
Oh, dear Lord.
Damn.
And that he was like, oh, it's a tribute to him, but that he didn't talk to the estate of the mangaka, didn't talk to any about it, and then was selling it and saying he had a copyright on the style within his programming to copy the artist. But I don't think anybody is defending it except for the people that are racing to monetize it. And it's these same people that just want to monetize it, just keep attacking the artists that they're also stealing from.
Yeah, that's really indefensible.
Well, I mean, that's in software, that's like a pretty typical patent troll kind of behavior, right? Where someone else has done something, you make a slightly different version of it, you try and go and patent it, then you just start suing to extort money out of people. And that, it seems like just kind of a derivative of that kind of antisocial behavior, honestly.
Yeah,
because then a lot of people will settle because they're like, well, it's not worth fighting this guy. But then it just encourages that behavior more because they start getting paid off for some of the stuff by just going around and suing people. I was like, we deal with that patent troll crap all the time. It's really obnoxious.
Yep, and it's at the moment a lot of authors, indie authors especially, are doing it because they want the covers that are cheap and /free. And since there's nothing that any of the artists can do legally unless they all pull together and do a lawsuit, it's a bunch of people racing to monetize and sell this stuff before class action lawsuits happen because it's better to just get in the door right now and then stop when it's illegal.
Right.
And so it's just a bunch of really badly behaving people, and it's really disgusting.
Do you think that there's a non-unethical way to use this technology in? Or do you think that that people might be able to use the AI art style for non-evil purposes?
Well, artists can use it to help them with composition to then draw over because a lot of artists already do that sort of thing. But they're still using their own art style basically as a reference, and they're using the AI as a reference to then draw whatever they're trying to draw. So that's an ethical way to use it. And then if the AI actually only included images that were in the fair use and public domain, then that's fine. But the problem is that all of these AIs are just scraping places like DeviantArt and ArtStation and places where artists put their portfolios and then using that data to mine the database to create the art.
Trip works as a AI ethicist. When you're looking at something like that, how do you imagine like the field is going to kind of react to it?
I mean, I think that you know, I agree with that. I think that one of the problems is that, you know, it's one thing for a person to get inspired by like artwork that they've seen and kind of imp these styles and those kind of things. But that's like, obviously that's not scalable. Like I can't just like do that, look at it. So like I grew up reading Chesterton and C.S. Lewis and that kind of stuff. In a lot of ways, whenever I do write, I write in a similar style. But like AIs can do that way better, way faster, way more scalable. And what you'll end up doing is you'll kill creators if you let them just kind of do that. And so I do think that like restricting it to only public domain stuff, unless you pay to license the stuff that you want to kind of to deviate off of, is probably the way that they're going to have to go with it. Because it just comes down to the data. There's nothing special about the models themselves, generally speaking. It is just access to the data. And so that I think I agree. I think that's what you're going to have to do. And if you can prove that someone used something that was copyrightable as an input to the data model, then they should have to pay for that or license it or just not be able to use it entirely.
And I've seen that argument too, not specifically what you're saying, but relating to that of people saying, well, stock images exist, and this is no different than using stock images. But the problem with making that comparison is people actually pay to use stock images, and none of the artists that are being grabbed from right now are being compensated.
No, exactly. Stock images, we put watermarks on stock images to prevent them from being used in any kind of commercial way. And so that's yes, exactly. There needs to be the problem is how do you prove it and those kind of stuff. And so then it just becomes like a giant mess because like there's no like, it's really hard to reverse engineer something that's being trained on that much data and know exactly what was fed into it. So that's, but yeah, I mean, this is an area of like copyright law that is not well defined because it's so new, right? We just got good enough at it that it could even be possible. Like I use ChatGPT to write all my performance reviews. And so I just like said, hey, write a performance review for this person. Here's some bullet points of what they did, what they accomplished, what they could do better, and that kind of stuff. And ChatGPT just wrote my performance review, and I had to do very little, to do it. Like, but that was not possible even like 2 years ago, to have something that was good enough that I only need to slightly alternate. And art is very similar, where it's very, very recent that we've even gotten to the point where that's possible.
So are we at the point where you think the door's gonna slam on this really quickly?
Really quickly? No, because I don't think that like anyone, I don't think it's not going to slam really quickly. I think that until real class action lawsuits get filed, but then there's going to have to be an entire regulatory framework that's brand new that surrounds this to know exactly how are courts going to adjudicate this. It's not clear. So no, I don't think it's going to slam shut. I think there's going to be lawsuits, and then all of a sudden we're going to have to write new laws, or the courts are just going to have to make up new standards that haven't been done before, and that's going to be challenging to do it and do it right. Because on the one hand, you don't want to encourage frivolous lawsuits, on the other hand, you don't want to kill the industry either. And so, like, it's obviously our copyright laws and stuff and trademarks and everything else like that are not made for this.
Neuron Bear has two comments. First, he agrees with Neuron Boar. Agrees with Steve. Banana to the Wall is a total scam to move and launder money, which I'm sure he would agree with. He also a prominent artist searched their name in Midjourney. It's a paid service generating money. Their name was used over 12,000 times in prompts. So it seems like they're going back to the same people over and over again on this.
Yeah, because people go, oh, I like that art style. I want something in that art style without paying the artist. And so they'll use the service basically as a way to get out of paying somebody for their labor while also benefiting from the artist's labor.
Yeah. I mean, this technology is innocent enough when it's just making demonic dolly images, but it's
Go for it, bro.
Say, they never get the eyes right. It's like staring into it's like the uncanny valley, but if it were being possessed by a demon. But
oh hell no! Oh man.
But yeah, Trip, your seems like your internet's kind of back in.
Well, I just switched off Wi-Fi. Now I'm just on my cell network. Something, yeah. So I think it's good now.
Okay, now we get to play 5 questions with you because you can escape my wrath. So what is your favorite thing about 2022, and what is your favorite thing about Christmas?
About 2022. Let me think.
Thank you for the input, Steve.
I'll come back to that one. My favorite thing, I don't know about 2022. 2022 is a pretty crap year, I think. Favorite thing about Christmas is, especially, I've got a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. So Christmas morning and like having them run downstairs and that kind of stuff is pretty fun. Like you remember that kind of as a kid, but you kind of get to relive it as a parent in a lot of ways. Just that excitement. So I think that's one of my favorite things. And then like Christmas Eve evensong at the church and stuff is really nice as well. So yeah, those are like, I think, my favorite things about Christmas. But I'm a big Christmas person. We put our lights and everything up basically the day after Halloween. So like we're a 2-month Christmas family for sure. Yeah.
I was gonna say I visited back in early January this year, and his Christmas stuff was still up to my knowledge.
So. Oh yeah, no, and then I really drag my feet on taking it down, so it stays up pretty much for almost like a quarter of the year.
So, what was your favorite thing you read or watched this year? And then, as a secondary question, what was the cringiest thing you read or watched this year?
Let's see. I just finished a book that was called The Philosophy of Dante. By Etienne Gilson, who's one of my favorite authors on philosophy and Aquinas and that kind of stuff. And I never read this particular one, but that one was really fantastic. And just kind of contrasting Dante's philosophy with where did he get his inspiration, like, and how did that feed into his literature? But then also, where did he kind of deviate from his contemporary Catholics, like Aquinas? That was a really good book. I just read that like maybe a few weeks ago, and I never read that, which is odd because I've read almost everything Gilson has written, but that one was a new one for me, and I didn't even know it existed. So that was really, really good. Probably I accidentally watched like an episode of She-Hulk, which is probably the worst thing I possibly could have watched. I was like, I literally, like, my brain hurt after that. I was like, I have no idea. It's like someone just decided to take Wonder Woman 1984 and just make a whole series that's just as bad as that. And so, yeah, I watched She-Hulk and I was like, I do not believe that they actually made this. I think I'm getting pranked. Yeah, so that's probably the cringiest, like, just most awful thing I've ever seen. So
I will offer I am grateful for She-Hulk for the memes that are coming out of it. Like, I appreciate corporate cringe just because it lets horrifying memes just seep into the public eye, and it makes my life happier. And I mean, maybe the funniest video I saw this year was someone who edited the She-Hulk twerking scene with the Taco Bell sound, and it just cut to Hulk screaming on the ground in pain as he's just being forced to, hear this horribly loud ringing sound in his ear. It's like, okay, this is, this meme made my life better. Thank you.
Yeah, no, She-Hulk was, I was just like, oh, this, okay, I'll watch. And I was like, I got literally one episode and I just wanted to end it all. Yeah, it was so bad.
I really don't blame you on that.
Yeah.
So I don't think I got this question for Steve or Ian either, but what are you guys working on at the moment? I know a little bit about what Ian's current writing projects, but what are you guys working on project wise right now?
Just recording with Guap Squad Gang. We did our last session last Saturday, so then it's going to be mixing and mastering and all that stuff. And we got to talk to the record label. I would like to get on vinyl, but I don't know. It's really complicated. Yeah. Oh, actually, on a side note, dude, I submitted our Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark movie, It's Him, to a film festival. So
you did?
Yeah. So he really liked it too. So it's just like, all right, I'll get the notification or whatever, the email, in later January.
What film festival was that?
It's some DIY crap. I don't know.
That movie that's got to be insanely copyrighted.
I think it's called Sweet Void. Don't quote me, but it's some, I don't know, just something I found on the social media, Instagram stuff.
For context, Steve and I co-directed 2 short films.
That's right.
Based on
That's
Scary
right.
Stories to Tell in the Dark. So
Nice.
But,
they're all up on YouTube.
They're fan films, but but we can't really do anything with them because we don't have the rights to Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So it's like it's gonna sit on YouTube forever, and
just change the name to Spooky Tales to Tell in the night, in the dark time,
In the evening, in the late
in the late times.
It's
Close enough.
Clearly plagiarized, though. The dialogue comes straight from the book, so.
But a lot of those stories came from folk stories, you know what I'm saying? So that was kind of almost public domain in a way.
You can't really pull the folk story when you say, hey, I made a movie about a clown. It's called It, and it attacks this small town. And it's like at some point you're just directly stealing from Stephen King. Like you can't just.
That's totally different.
You can make a story about a clown that attacks this town and call it anything but It.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space. But anyways, the stories in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is folklore, so technically it's public domain.
I'm gonna call it Meth Clown, and it's gonna be about a clown who's on meth and he's just attacking a town, and then it'll have nothing to do with Stephen King's It. We have a new 6. How's it going, Ethan?
Hey, I'm watching my child right now. She does not want to go to sleep. So if it's okay, I'll just be on here and mute myself as I can. Is that all right?
That's perfectly fine until we make you play the same question game I'm making them play against their will.
Yeah, I should be able to talk here and there just fine.
All right, cool. But Steve, you mentioned your album the other day that you wanted me to use some of the music as my bumper music. What is the deal with this that you said it was spicy?
We do a lot of things different. There's a lot of noise elements, some lyrics that are questionable.
So I should make it clear.
So all right, fuck it. I'll just say it. Like an example is your roommates with rats. You vote Democrat. Don't be surprised at the highest crime stats. Stay woke, stay fat. Sorry, I forgot the double mask. Like stuff like that. I don't know.
I should note for anyone who doesn't know this, but Steve is the one who wrote the original music for my podcast intro.
And you got another song. You got another song coming up.
Yeah. I don't include the title of the song that is in my bumper intro.
That wasn't my idea. That was the other guys who were Democracy, so I got voted out. It is what it is.
Democracy has failed once again, but it's a very good song, which is why I use it. But I can't. I feel irresponsible mentioning that the actual title song is called "Cloudy Boy Pussy." So thanks a lot for that.
There's a comma. All right, so I mean the origin of that is "Cloudy Boy," comma, but the origin of that is they were saying Cloud from Final Fantasy VII looks like a woman. That
doesn't make it better.
Yeah, I didn't name the track. I just wanted to call it Cloudy, but the other guys wanted, it is what it is.
That just makes it more controversial.
I mean, we looked up the bands like the Sex Pistols and NWA, Ghetto Boys, so just raunchy stuff.
Oh my gosh! But yeah, I mean, go listen to his stuff. It's all very good. And
with the earplugs, it's not that good.
Hey, I took the cut out the part I liked.
You must have hearing problems.
You've heard the way I edit my intros. I love the way it sounds.
Your intros are too angry. I wanted more relaxing.
He'd be jamming out to that Cloud Pussy every single day.
There you go. Yeah. We all do that. Yeah. But the next song that might be your intro, it's kind of in that vein, but there's a banjo and a cowbell, so it's gonna be sick. Just think of like Bella Fleck and the Flecktones, kind of like bluegrass, jazz, funk.
Okay, I'm
this kind of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, the next one I think would be appropriate. Is since you're in Nashville, the home of country music and bluegrass. So there you go. Although wait, bluegrass came from what state? They there's a name for
Kentucky.
There we go. Thank you.
Steve, this is Ethan. He's a colleague of mine who do a lot of the same kind of film criticism. He's a good old country boy who likes a lot of the stuff you'd like.
Oh, nice.
I grew up playing bluegrass folk gospel music.
You like Bob Willis?
Is that the Raider?
He did Blue Moon of Kentucky.
Yeah. Well, Bill Monroe is the one who wrote Blue Moon of Kentucky.
All right, Oh yeah, he covers it. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm not super. I don't know. I don't remember who Bob Willis is. I think I'm thinking of somebody else.
He's like they call him the King of Western Swing.
Okay, so that is who I'm thinking of. Yeah, he had a band called wasn't they called like the Raiders or something like that?
I'm not familiar, but I just started getting into that music.
So Trip, you didn't you didn't answer the fifth question.
Oh, the what's best in
what are you working on?
Yeah, so right now I'm mainly working on, well, for my work I'm working on some machine learning models to better detect money laundering and risk profiling for the fintech space. So that's professionally, and then as a side project I'm writing just kind of a biblical, almost like a systematic theology of C.S. Lewis, because I think he's an underrated theologian. Like, we think of him as just a fiction writer or a pretty good philosopher too. But C.S. Lewis, the theologian, I think there's more that could be said regarding, say, his doctrine of hell and those kind of things. Just as kind of like a side project, I'm just trying to lay out what I think the major theological points, and why I actually think he's way more biblically based than a lot of people give him credit for. So those are kind of the two things that I'm working on for the most part.
That's fascinating. I know you're a big Lewis guy, so I'd be curious to see how that kind of plays out.
Yeah, no, I think this is more just, right now it's just kind of like a hobby of mine, but I might publish it somewhere, might try to. I'm not sure what I'll do with it, but I'm just trying to lay out, what are the major issues of systematic theology, because usually Lewis doesn't write that way in a systematic theology way. And so I think that trying to force Lewis into a Calvin's Institutes type defense of his theology is kind of the project that I'm trying right now. And it's interesting so far, but.
Okay. Ethan, how's the parenting going at the moment?
It's going well. Right now, she's just playing.
Okay. The child sensed happiness and attacked. But do you want to do 5 questions now, or?
Yeah,
I was going to jump in real quick, Tyler. The one question I didn't answer is what's best in 2022, and I forgot. My oldest just got into video games with me and was kind of like my co-pilot playing Elden Ring.
Nice.
So we've been doing that for a lot this year. And so now I finally have an excuse to sit down and play more video games. So I've been doing that as well.
I saw you were bonding with him over Elden Rings. That sounded really cute.
Yeah, no, he loves it. He's into like just learning all the bosses and all the areas, and he's just like this little video game nerd right now, which is really fun.
For some reason I have a seventh guest called Blake Bay who's trying to join, but for some reason Streamlabs won't let me add a seventh at the moment. But apologies, Blake. We will get you in as soon as we can, but I don't mean to be exclusive at the moment. But
I was about to leave, so maybe I should just go ahead and go.
I was gonna say I was about to dip. I'm gonna make some food, man.
All right. Well, I hope you felt welcome to the podcast. It kind of went off in a bunch of weird directions. So thank you for coming on.
Oh yeah. Thank you. I never did one of this stuff before. Hopefully, do it again. This was fun. But yeah, I'm gonna sign off. Thank you all. Have a Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. So yeah.
Merry Christmas. Good luck. Don't die.
Hell yeah. Rock and roll. That's right. All right. Peace out, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Cool to meet you.
You want to play your stuff real quick, Sarah? Or you
I don't know. Follow me on Twitter, maybe.
Maybe.
Or
she's a
maybe
good film
not.
critic. Go follow her.
Definitely
Yeah,
follow her on Twitter.
I just tweet about me. I haven't really done much of my blog lately, but you know.
Didn't you just review
link to
Avatar?
it. What?
Didn't you just review Avatar?
Yes, I did. So go on there and read that.
All right.
Yeah.
Go follow Sarah. Good to see you again.
I'll see you later. Good to meet
Sarah,
you guys.
sorry I
Good to
didn't
meet
get
you.
the chance to interact with you more. Good to meet you here.
Next time. Have a good
night.
Christmas, y'all.
Merry Christmas.
Blake, I am sorry it got stuck in the room for a little bit there.
Hey, I'm just glad I was able to make it after this whole afternoon debacle here in town. So
Oh no.
it's been interesting, that's for sure.
But yeah, Blake is a city councilman in Kansas.
Hillsboro, Kansas. Yep.
Yeah, regular hated super fan on Siraj Hashmi's BB Power Hour.
Yeah, pretty much.
And one of the
every
most
day.
proud individuals in the history of Kansas jurisprudence. How's it going?
It's going good, man. I'm trying to warm my house up right now. The power's been out for about 3 hours, and
Oh, no.
yeah, and
Oh no,
we've
you're
had-
getting hit by the blizzard too, aren't you?
do what?
Are you getting hit by the blizzard?
Oh, we did this morning. Yeah, we had a negative wind chill at 8 o'clock this morning of negative 32, which
Oh
is
my
the coldest
God.
I've seen it in a long time. Yeah.
I haven't seen it that bad since the polar vortex that caused Jesse Smollett to
Yeah.
self-immolate, so
So about 4:30, 4:45 this afternoon, we're working. All of a sudden, power goes out, and it's not uncommon in Hillsboro for that to happen. But it was out for about 3 hours, and I was like, "Oh, this is not good." So finally got it back about 7 o'clock my time, so about 45 minutes ago, and my house is at 50 degrees when I walked in. So I'm a little cold right now, but that's okay. I know the heater's running. We're good. Sorry for the late entrance. I had every intention on joining on time, and life happens. It's crazy, but I'm doing good, man. Tyler, it's good to hear from you again.
sure. I don't mean to be rude, but I've been going for an hour and a half. Would it be all right if I stepped out for a quick rest break, or while you guys entertain yourselves?
Absolutely. Who am I talking to tonight? We've got.
I'm Ian. I'm an author.
Nice to meet you, Ian. I'm
Not
Blake.
a theologian. I apparently came on with a bunch of theologians. I'm like, well.
This week we got somebody named Trip. Trip, nice to meet
Yep.
you. I'm Blake.
Hi, nice. Yeah,
Nice
nice
to
to
meet
meet you. Yep, I work in software, but also like I write on like some theology and philosophy stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I went to Bible college myself, so
Oh yeah, where at?
Tabor College here in Hillsboro. Great
Where is
school.
Hillsboro in Kansas?
It is if you know where Wichita, Kansas is, it's about an hour north.
Yeah, I had a bunch of I have a friend who actually, married me and my wife. He's from Kansas City, but then we would always fly in there and then drive down to Branson
Oh yeah,
every year.
yep.
So yeah, for like camp in the summer, there's a camp down there that we used to go to.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Kansas City is about 2.5 hours from me, so
gotcha.
I have
Okay.
family that live there, so yeah, I know that area very well.
Gotcha.
And I'm a Chiefs fan, so of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So how's the stream going tonight? I'm literally just walking in here and trying to play catch up. So
yeah. Well, we start out with ghosts, and yeah, there's 5 questions that Tyler has for everyone coming in. So whenever he gets back, he can drop those on you, and then
yeah,
I don't know.
sure he will.
Talked about
Did we lose
AI
Ethan?
artwork. What else? Ian, what did we chat about?
Yeah, there was the AI art stuff, and there was the ghosts, and that's pretty much what I saw. And then there was the answering of the 5 questions with various people, but that's all that I saw.
Yeah.
I approached this with no coherence or theme in mind, other than Christmas stuff, which is kind of my brand. But did we lose Ethan, or
he said that he was stepping out in the private chat, that he might be back. He was going temporarily, hopefully.
I know he's handling the child, so we'll see if that ends up if he comes back or not. But we're dangerously close to Dudes Rock, but we will move accordingly.
Rock?
What's that?
What is Dudes Rock?
So back when Dune came out last year, I had 6 guys on the podcast at once, and we just spent 3 hours just going through the minutia of it, just absolutely broing out on Dune. So I'm like, if too many guys lined up in here, it's going to turn into Dudes Rock again, which we kind of love. But
we talked more about the book. What's weird about that is that while we all love the show, we ended up just completely ignoring the show and just talking about Dune the book the entire time. Like it seemed like we were just like, oh, the show was great, but let's all talk about Dune the novel, and so that's what we did for like 3 hours.
What's wrong with that?
When you put
Nothing.
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing's wrong with that.
To do. Yeah.
It's what happens when you put 6 nerds in a room. They just debate minutia for forever. That's why I called it Dudes Rock, because there's nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of it's fun, but it's like it's nonsense at the same time. It's fun nonsense.
Yeah.
But yeah, Blake.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
What question 1? What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen African swallow?
I have no idea. 69 miles per hour.
I noticed that you threw an African swallow in there so that it didn't get thrown back at you.
I'm gonna say 69 miles an hour.
Correct.
Yes, I knew it.
So what was your favorite thing about 2022?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, 2022, it's been up and down year, honestly. But me and my college buddies back in May, we decided to make our own Discord server because we kind of wanted to have our own platform. And we finally went live in June, and we've had tons of people join from all walks of life, and it's just been really cool to see people coming together and interacting, roasting each other, having fun with each other, and we're hopefully going to launch something soon in January, maybe February, depending on how things go. But I gotta say that's been my favorite part of 2022 is just being able to build a platform that is inclusive and values all opinions and walks of life, and yeah, it's been cool. It's been really cool. But that's favorite part of 2022.
Does Siraj hang out on the group?
He does not, mostly because he's a boomer and doesn't know how to work Discord. But I mean that in the most loving way possible.
I mean, I interviewed him and he fully admitted that he's a boomer. So this is not an insult.
I was there. He's totally I love him to death though.
What is your favorite thing about Christmas?
You know what's crazy is growing up, Christmas was like not really huge in our house just because my dad and both my brothers had to work Christmas Day. But getting together with family is always fun, and this year is going to be different because my brother one of my brothers and his wife live in Florida, and so we're actually flying out Monday to go see them for a week, the last week of December. So Christmas this year is going to be a little different, not having him around. But I still think we're going to make it fun. Family is very important to me, and so if I can get together with my family whenever it is, any time of the year, is always fun. Christmas to me is just another day, but if I get to spend time with my family, that's the most important thing to me.
And then just you can kind of go back to back. What is your favorite thing that you've watched or read in 2022? And then the cringiest thing you watched or read in 2022?
Ooh, that is a good one. My favorite thing that I've watched in 2022. You know what? It's got to be, I don't know how you guys are with Disney Plus, but man, Moon Knight was so good. I loved it. And then the cringiest thing for me, at least so far, has been this National Treasure show on Disney Plus. It just is. It's
You're
so
actually watching
woke.
it?
I told myself that I'd watch it.
There's a National Treasure show.
Yeah, it is.
There's no Nicolas Cage.
It is remarkably ridiculous. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, I want it to be ridiculous, but if there's no Nicolas Cage,
there's no Nicolas Cage,
right
but everything about it is just woke. Everything, literally everything about it. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to watch it. I'm going to have an open mind. And I said it from the beginning. And I even tweeted out last night. I said, I cannot handle this anymore. Yeah. That's
what is it on? Where is it even playing?
Disney Plus. It's all on Disney Plus.
Okay.
I know that most of you are probably anti Disney, but I understand that. I just nostalgia for me is more important.
Yeah, well, I've got a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, so we still have Disney Plus just because of the classics. But I don't any of the new stuff. I find mostly intolerable.
I literally don't judge what people want to watch in general. You can just do whatever you got to do for yourself. Everybody has different creative tastes, and I know that I am specifically very critical of pretty much everything. So people can enjoy what they enjoy.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
I think it's personally better if you can find joy and peace and just like contentment that is not political. And so even if you just ignore what Disney is doing so that you can have a handful of things that you can just enjoy, at least you can shut your brain off of politics. Because I think too many people are too focused on politics, and it's making people very aggressive.
It's really disappointing too, because like literally everything Disney has put out in the last 2 years is just, they shoehorn in stuff that just takes away from the show. Like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Like we didn't need the lesbian whatever. It's just, we don't need it. It takes away from the story, honestly. Because the story itself was really good.
Yeah, it's like orthogonal to it. Yeah, it's
exactly.
Like orthogonal. Yeah,
when you shoehorn in these woke ideologies, it just takes away from the story. Like I don't like, if you want to live that lifestyle, that's fine. It's your choice, but don't ruin the story for it, you know?
See, I would actually be more okay if they just like, yeah, I agree. It's kind of like you have all these like weird things like pasted into a story that would otherwise be entertaining and kind of turn your brain off or whatever. I would almost love like a version of those it's like kind of like The Boys, where they're just like, no, it's just going to be all about that. And it's going to be very subversive of the entire thing. And of the entire like superhero genre or whatever. I'd almost be more okay when we're like, no, this is going to be the most woke thing ever. So much so that it's subversive to the entire thing. I was like, I would watch that. That could be actually fun. But like, as it is, it just seems like it's copy and pasted so much. And it's just like, well, why do we need that particular like line or scene. It doesn't add to the story. It's not a character development thing.
It's fulfilling a woke agenda by the donors and the activists that are pressuring these CEOs and these you know what I mean? I mean, these guys they're pressuring them to make these decisions, and they do it because they're scared of the backlash.
Yeah, it'd be one thing if it was actually a part of the character development or the plot. It's just when you just have like a random, it's just jarring to me.
No,
it takes me out of
exactly.
It takes me out of the story.
Like I'm pretty libertarian on a lot of issues, and if people want to live that lifestyle, that's fine. I don't care. If you don't push that on me, I'm not going to push it on you. But if I'm going to go watch a movie, I'm going to watch a movie to basically take myself out of mainstream agenda. I want to just see a story that's not trying to push an agenda on me and just give me something that I enjoy. But we don't get that in today's society. It's all woke media, woke agenda. We're going to push this down your throat. And if you don't like it, then you're a bigot, you're a sexist, you're a racist, you're homophobic, and that's not the case. Like people just
I feel like we do that even more than just with politics. I think Bill Burr has like a bit that he did on Conan O'Brien at one point where he was complaining about I think it was like Breast Cancer Awareness Month, where like the football games even became about like raising money for breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's just like, okay, like I'm here to turn my brain off and just watch football. I don't want all of these other things to be about it. And like, he's like, it ruins it for me. And so he's doing it in a funny way, but his point, I think, was, yeah, like, I just want to turn my brain off. Like, why do we have to like, yeah, there are these horrible things in the world or whatever, and these are serious topics, but does everything have to be about that? Can we just like not have that be like the thing that we're always focused on? I was like, no wonder we're all miserable, right? It's because we can't, there's no escapism anymore, really.
I agree with that. And for me, I'm a giant sports fan. Like I love sports, NFL, NBA, college football, you name it. I am all invested in sports. Back when the George Floyd riots were going on, you had the NFL, the NBA, even the NCAA, all just like pushing this BLM stuff. And it was really hard to watch sports when you see these activist organizations on the back of people's helmets, on their jerseys. And I have nothing against trying to promote social justice, which, I mean, I get it, but it takes away from what you're watching from sports.
Yeah, I think we just need like a common space where we can all come together despite this and not have it be about the most controversial topic that we could actually bring up.
Mm-hmm.
And like, let's just watch some football. Let's have a fantasy story. Let's like talk about ghosts. Let's do that. We don't need to focus on where we're different, because like we're all way more in common than we are different.
And I think you're correct, because I think a large majority of the country sees what you're saying and agrees with you. But the problem is the fringe on both the left and the right has a large microphone, and they are pushing their narratives so hard that it's alienating 80% of the country.
Well, I think you see that with ratings, right? For TV shows, for movies, for sports. Like, it tanks whenever they do this. I was reading, I forget who wrote it. Tyler, maybe you'll remember. But it's a guy who's writing on ordinal versus cardinal utility, and why is it that institutions tend to get captured by fringe groups? So whether or not they be a corporation or government or a political party or even like a church or something like that, like why is it that they tend to get captured? And so he's saying, well, it's a matter of ordinal versus cardinal utility. So even if like most people, this particular topic, whatever it is, it can, like, it doesn't matter. even if this particular topic is like not that important, like, you know, it like we think this, you know, and it's like, but it's like 7th on our list of most important things that we care about. But you have that one group where it's the number one thing, it's the only thing that they care about. That group will end up taking over the conversation about it. And so they will end up dominating institutions because everyone else is like, well, I just want to go home. I don't want to argue about this anymore. You know, my family's more important than the political stance of my organization or my corporation or my government or whatever. Like, I just, like, I have a job, I have kids, I have whatever. But like, it's the cardinal utility for that activist group that ends up capturing the institution. And so you see that in sports, you see that in movies, you see that kind of across the board.
It's kind of a variation on conquest law that, you know, any institution that isn't sufficiently one thing will be,
right.
You know, it'll be overtaken by something that is more aggressive. So it makes sense that does happen. Although I will point that out that 2022 has a really interesting counterpoint to that, given that Top Gun Maverick is currently sitting at like the 10th highest grossing film of all time, and there's not an ounce of politics in it at all.
No. Well, I actually think that there is like kind of in a weird way, it's kind of countercultural. And so it kind of the apolitical nature of it is kind of a political statement in some ways.
No, let's not get into that game. I don't want to play that. Well, because that's like, if you're not an anti-racist, then you're a racist. And it's the same thing
No.
I know. Sarkeesian did forever ago, where it's like, everything
like
is political, including your opinion to choose not to be political. And I don't like to play that game.
No, that's not what I'm saying, though. I'm saying that like it is. What I'm saying is that it is countercultural, and it's like a breath of fresh air. And so
just by being itself.
Yes, and so it's saying not everything has to be political, which to a lot of people is a political statement. And so like, so they had like, you know, they decided to keep the Taiwan emblem on the Top Gun you know, jacket because that was in the original, and they weren't going to take it out just because of politics and that kind of stuff. So it is kind of because the culture wants you to take a political stance on everything, kind of refusing to do that can be seen as political, even though you're just saying the opposite. So
that's why I verbally refuse to allow that to be the narrative, because I've had this forced on me as well as being somebody in the creative community and a writer, and everybody wants to force me into a box and choose what I am and what I believe. And I've been called left and I've been called right, depending on whether people like me or not. And I would rather not have people assigning my motives or my opinions to left or right. So I know that that's the paradigm where everybody wants to say, well, even not being political is an opinion, because I've heard the leftists say that in the writing community.
No, of course.
But I would just rather, like, I know that it's a belief and I know that it's what people do, but I verbally reject that because I don't want to allow that to be the narrative in which I live.
I'm not disagreeing with you that is, I'm just saying that's how it's seen. And in a lot of ways, it's like just refreshing to see that someone's just like, no, I'm not going to play that game. I'm just going to make a good movie. Yeah, I'm make a good movie.
I was just verbalizing that specifically, not to disagree with you or argue with you or anything, but just if that idea comes up, I go no. to have it on the record, because I've been fighting this in the writing community for years.
You should tell him about your the Boom 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 story, and how that kind of correlates, because that kind of correlates out of this. But really quick, C.S. Johnson just joined us. Can you hear us?
What's up, CS?
Yep.
Hey, man.
Hey, how's everybody doing? I came in at the boom, boom, boom part, so now you've got me interested.
Sure. So if anyone doesn't, I don't know who does or does not know CS, but she is a fairly accomplished author of fairy tale stories. And I don't know if that's how you wanted to, if that's how you describe exactly what you do, but how many books have you published?
I'm just sitting here and I'm like, fairly, I've got 89 books out.
But yeah, I know at some point I gave Ian, I gave you a copy of one of her books, and I know I gave CS a copy of Dead End Drive at some point, but...
Oh, yes, the cat book.
Yes.
The black cat book. I like the cover.
But yeah, Ian, you wrote a book earlier this year that...
No, I wrote a book a year and a half ago. it published this year.
Oh,
Which
well,
is where the-
Tyler's on COVID, maybe, huh?
which is where the problem was, because the book is about a Ukrainian YouTuber who lives in the middle of nowhere, literally in a place that's called nowhere. And he does videos of him doing explosives, and he lives along the Russian border. And so he is discovered by some American feds that see an opportunity to use him to start a proxy war so they can attack Russia. And they just come to find this nobody in the middle of nowhere, Ukraine, and give him military grade explosives to mess around for his videos. Well, now he does a big one for his videos, and Russia thinks Ukraine is attacking, and Ukraine thinks Russia is attacking and making stuff up. And then he gets flown off to America, where they continue to have him make bombs under the guise that he is making videos for a movie studio in America called the Pentagon Studios. And so he's got an agent. All the agents are named after like entertainment stars. Like his agent, once he gets to America, is named Bill Cosby. The agents that visit him in Ukraine are Bob Dylan and Tom Cruise. And so the problem with this is you've got a Ukrainian doing explosives on the Russian border for a proxy war, and it came out May 1st, but it's of this year. But it started going into ARC readership for early readers in January. And the war in Ukraine started in mid-February, 2 or 3 weeks after it started going out to ARC readers.
So you're on some kind of watch list, I imagine.
I have no idea. But but a lot of the people that were reading it were trying to, I had one person read it and they were trying to learn about Ukraine through it. I'm like, I don't know why you'd pick up a satire to try to learn about Ukraine. And then other people that thought that I was trying to profitize off of what was happening in Ukraine. And I'm like, guys, I'm not the ones that have randomly put the Ukraine flag in my bio and my username in February. I've been posting about this since last year. Okay, you're following my trend. I haven't even tried to profitize and sell my book on all of you Ukraine flag people, because I thought that was disrespectful.
I'd be like, well, why don't you read the book for yourself? So go buy it and read the book and then tell me what you learned from it. So get a sell out of it.
You recently won an award for it, though.
Yeah, in October I got a gold award for satire for it.
A nice consolation prize after the.
Well, they sent you the rubric afterwards, so you get all of the judges' opinions from when they were writing it. And one of the judges was like, "You can't publish this." They're like, here's your happy gold, but also you can't publish this. You need to change like the identity of the characters because this is too sensitive and you can't do this. You've lost against fates because you chose Ukraine. I'm like, no. This character is Ukrainian. I don't get to choose what my characters are or who my characters are. I am just a transcriber.
Also, we need you to write a book now that prophesies that we aren't going to war with China, because
I am sorry. That's the next book that I'm writing. Is he comes to America to meet his girlfriend's stepfather and her family in North Carolina, and then they go to a national park, and he accidentally sets off an EMP. Wipes out a quarter of the East Coast, and then they're like, China's attacked us. So I'm sorry, that's the next one.
You need the third book to be averting nuclear war. You're prophesying too much. We're willing it into reality.
What about?
Can you write a book about me maybe finding a winning lottery ticket? I mean, you could change my name if you.
Tyler, you might have some more people joining your stream. I just tweeted out to come check you guys out. So
the invite or the stream itself?
The stream on YouTube. I posted it. So
okay, I was gonna say if you tweeted out the invite link,
then I would have to resign. In disgrace.
Okay, half the internet wants you to resign from your consulship already. Like, if you do that,
I would be forced to do that myself. No, I posted the link to your YouTube channel with the stream going, and I'm sure people are going to be flooding in here telling me to resign. So just giving you heads up.
Hold on, let me check the comments.
It sounds like you should be the one that's more prepared for that.
I get told on a daily to resign, and so it's just a part of life. So
Siraj Hashmi tells him weekly on his podcast to resign. So this is just this is his fate for the rest of time because of the corners he's decided to
that
associate
damn blue check lib.
Is he blue check?
Oh well.
Yeah, I'm a blue check too now.
You actually subscribe to the Elon blue check?
I did, man.
Well, at least you're not, at least you're not a former blue check keeping it, because I would judge you hard if you did that. But
you judge me anyway, so I figured, well, why not?
I mean, I would be really judgy if for someone like, because the blue check used to be like a mark of distinction. Like if like Alyssa Milano pays for a blue check, I'd be like, oh my gosh. It's like, what do you?
Well, the reason backstory. The reason that I did pay for it, there were some quote unquote parody accounts of me on Twitter that were defaming me and slandering me, and then I have to be able to represent my city, and when they see these accounts, they don't know who to follow. And so I said, well, $8 a month seems pretty reasonable to verify my account to make sure that I don't get fired.
Bless you.
So I paid for the $8 Twitter verification process, and I got the blue check. So
that's completely fair. I think that's I would only judge someone if they're doing it for the status symbol thing. But
plus you can use that as a tax write-off.
That's a good idea. I never thought of that. Man. But I am a city councilman, so I want the tax money. So what do?
You take it from the federal payments. Like you are in the city council, so you just let the tax write-off come from the federal payments.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get in so much trouble with this podcast tonight.
Yeah,
it's a joke. I'm a satirist. It's okay.
Do what?
You went on with famed political extremists, Abby Libby and Trip.
That's true. Well, so Abby left. That turd.
She was only on for 45 minutes.
Yeah, she got scared.
She's busy. She's big check now.
She's moving up in the world.
Check now. You're a big check.
She has way more followers than I do.
Well, if you got people parodying you though on social media, I think that's pretty big.
I think in his case, it just qualifies as cyberbullying.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care if people tell me to resign. I think it's hilarious, but when
you got a consistent viewership, I guess, so that's good.
That's true. Yeah.
You need to turn that into your re-election campaign thing. Just make people say resign Blake signs and put them all over the city. Who is this Blake man? Why is he the bad boy of Hillsborough, Kansas?
That's what's crazy. That's what's crazy is like it's such a small town, and so like people see this and they're like, "What does this mean?" And I have to tell them it's a joke.
I mean, yours is fairly light. Like, do you remember when? Are you familiar with Carl Benjamin?
Yes.
Do you remember when he tried to run for UKIP in the UK?
Oh yeah. That's right.
And people kept digging up all of his live streams of him saying the N-word and him telling Jess Phillips that he wouldn't rape her. And they were just taking all these out of context memes and just destroying his actual real world political reputation. Which I'm like, this is what happens when you're a troll on YouTube for 5 years and then you try to run for political office.
I know, and that's been it's been in the realm. Like I've been thinking about it for a little while. You know, I've got some time to think yet because it's an off-year election, but no, I've been thinking about running for state house or state senate. It just depends. I don't know.
We're on the cusp of having the first generation of politicians who have Xbox Live histories that are readily available to the public. And when that happens, we're going to be digging up some horrible, horrible things. And
well, maybe that'll be a good thing because then everybody can just get a tough skin and be like, oh, none of this matters. Never mind.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, oh, turns out 13-year-olds immature and say stupid crap. Like, maybe everyone just needs to get over that.
Yeah.
We would need to reintroduce the concept of forgiveness in this country. And that that doesn't really coexist with cancel culture at the moment. But yeah, I would certainly be all for that, because I can't wait for every Democratic politician in the 2032 election to have their recordings of them saying the N-word on Xbox Live dragged up and being forced.
No, but you're
do
thinking
you
that
stand
that's
by
gonna
this
matter, though,
statement?
Tyler.
What?
I was gonna say you're gonna think that's gonna matter, but like Joy Reid got, she like got caught using a bunch of homophobic slurs, and she's like, I got hacked, and you're like, oh, okay. No one else, no one believes that.
If you're a left-wing politician, you're fine. So maybe I should just say I'm a Democrat.
I think Josh Hawley Jr. is going to have a much harder time justifying all of the swear words he said on Xbox Live, and they're gonna drag him before Chris Cuomo, and he's gonna be like, Do you stand by this statement you made when you were 13 years old on Xbox Live?
Just get an Italian accent, switch parties.
Hey,
I absolutely stand by that. That guy was a faggo.
Our sitting former vice president of the United States has used the hard N-word on multiple occasions when he was a senator. Let that sink in. Yeah, our sitting former vice president, Joe Biden.
Fair enough. You said former vice president. Like, wait a minute.
Sitting.
Did Kamala Harris run around and?
I don't want to get you banned, so I'm not going to say how I feel.
I mean,
but he's our sitting former vice president of the United States.
It's okay. I'm one of those people that is like, it's time for all of us to stop talking about our feelings anyway. So
I'm just protecting Tyler and his platform.
I don't get paid for this, so you can't hurt me.
You can't
anyway,
hurt me. I don't exist.
We'll try to find some way to virtually stone you later, I guess. So, but
I have had
just tell him to resign. I feel like that works pretty well.
Of people I met on Twitter on the podcast, and they said, "No, you're too right wing." I'm just like, what? I'm pretty good about not saying stupid crap on the internet. I have some nutty associations, but you won't find me saying anything that's terribly objectionable. So I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe it's just the stench of me, my associations is just making it impossible for some people to want to go on my channel, because there's a couple people I've wanted to collab with, and they just stop responding after a little while. I'm like, I guess they found my interviews with Abby Libby. I mean, they
that bad? Are they that bad?
Well, when I had Abby on, we talked about pro-life stuff. So maybe they're just like, oh, he's one of them.
He's one of them. Well, it is Abby, so.
That's one of the reasons I like you. So, babies.
Yep.
So,
anyway, Christina, we did not introduce you. Can you? How do you describe yourself to other people?
Oh, okay. So I'm C.S. Johnson. I'm an award-winning genre-hopping author, and I'm a mom and a wife and a Jesus person. So those are about. I like tea too, and those are probably about the most things that I pretty safe to talk about, I guess. But I talk a lot of story stuff too. So, but happy Christmas and congratulations on the podcast, Tyler. So
thank you. So I asked everyone that's joined so far to answer 5 questions.
All right.
Oh boy.
They're not. Well, it was hard for Blake for some reason, but just basic stuff. What is your favorite moment of 2022 so far?
My favorite moment of 2022. That's a tough one because I have trouble remembering all of it.
I most of my friends seem to have very negative experiences this year, so I wasn't sure if.
No, I've had so many good ones. It's just hard to keep track. And I almost feel bad for saying that because. Yeah, I know. Everybody's just jealous of me. I have to hide it. But it's probably my parents moved down near Atlanta for me and my family because we're finally on the adoption list. So we've got 3 years to wait. But I'm going to get baby starfish at some point, hopefully. And that was really nice. Being finished, moving them in and just seeing them at church every Sunday and having dinner. And sometimes it's aggravating because we have to fight over where to go. But that's probably the biggest, happiest thing is my family's just mostly close by now.
What is your favorite thing about Christmas?
My favorite thing about Christmas is always the candlelight service at my church. I love that we all kind of get our candles and, light is the only thing that exists outside of time. And we all get to stand around and we sing Silent Night because not enough people know Oh Holy Night, which is what you really should sing. And just for this timeless moment, we're all kind of just praying and wishing goodwill and that, we're honoring Christ and, just living for him. And it's this beautiful moment of both silence and music at the same time. I think that's what I like best.
If you want to hard mode that, you should make them sing Silent Night in the original language.
I'll mention that.
You know what language it's originally in?
Is it in German?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I love the lyrics in that. It's like it's the greatest refutation I can find that German is a true Romance language, but it's so deeply.
Well, I mean, it's technically a Romantic language because it was born out of the Highland.
I know,
Germanic
but I'm so used to everyone bullying my beloved strange people. I don't, for reasons I don't understand, but it's the lyrics to that song in particular are lovely.
I'll give it a listen on YouTube. Maybe you should sing it for us.
Yes.
I don't know though. I don't know all of them.
That's
Okay,
Is that the German version?
Well, Stille Nacht is the original version.
Stille Nacht. Yep. We used to sing that in my church at home. The German version of Silent Night.
Are yours a particularly German farming village or?
Well, not a village. I mean,
I'm from the Midwest.
We have internet.
Town is a German farming village, so I'm like, are you one of my people?
No, I mean, my family came over from what was then Prussia, but is now northern Ukraine, which is north of Kyiv. But yeah, I mean, it's Still Nacht is Silent Night. I mean,
Were you then the YouTuber that Ian was talking about in his book?
Yeah.
Stille Nacht, Heile Nacht, alles Schlacht, Einzelwacht, Mörderstrecht, Hekla de Paar, Holde Nabe im Lachten Haar, Schlaf in Himschler Ru. I can't read it, but I have friends who do.
No, I wanted you to sing it. I didn't want you to
I was going to
read
say, next year, your homework.
Frankly, I've wanted to do. I've actually wanted to do a cover channel on YouTube for a while, but every time I meet a musician, they fall out of my life too quickly, and I can't do any collaborating with them.
I'll tell you what, Tyler. Sunday night, I'll take a video of my parents' church of us singing "Still Nacht" in German.
There is a video of me on YouTube actually singing "Silent Night" for my mom's church. I have to dig it up, but it's there. Because I used to sing.
I get chills every time they sing it. It's crazy.
It's very good.
Well, we'll toss a coin in for our podcast host here tonight.
So someone who plays music, hit me up. I want to do instrumental covers or some sort of covers, but
next year I want you to sing it for us live. So
Absolutely.
So next questions for you. What is your favorite thing you read or watched this year, and what is the cringiest thing you read or watched this year?
That's a good question. Well, can I buy my own stuff?
Sure, why not?
Sure,
That's not fair.
Nepotism makes the world go round.
Oh,
No.
well, my inner narcissist is just so next year I have a Kickstarter for my comic that I'm doing. It's my first comic, and so I had to write the script, and it's different from writing a book, and it's one of those things where it's different enough that it forces you to grow, and you're not sure that you're doing a good job all the time. And so that's probably my favorite thing that I did this year is I wrote a comic script, and my editor loved it. she said it's great, and I love it too. And it'll be out next year. It's one of I think you'll like it, Tyler, because it's one of my like inner Twitter jokes on some level. But it's called Discord, and it's about a musical superhero who lives in Atlanta, and he fights the human traffickers down here. So if you know why I'm not here next year, it's probably because I ended up on some watch list. So
Oh my. You're going to be on the same watch list that Ian's on for.
I was going to say, Ian's giving me some goals tonight, I think. So, but I've already fulfilled them too.
See you
so.
on the list.
I'm friends with 2 Pakistani Muslims. I'm pretty sure I'm already on a list.
Well,
I've seen the jokes they make about 9/11. So yes, this is not
they
off
were,
the.
yeah, they're
not
pretty ridiculous.
Well,
it's good that you're friends with them. You know.
Oh yeah, I love them like brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Which one was the one that said a while back? It's like, I when I think about my uncles on 9/11, I feel so bad for all the. I feel so bad for them because I can only imagine how much pain they were in for those few fiery seconds.
He goes by Jay, but his name is Muhad Kobe.
You just dox him?
Yep.
If he wants me to take this down, I will take it down. But
no,
he
doesn't care.
Okay. But
well, I will say, like, so my cringiest thing that is it wrote, right, or what, or read, or saw?
Any of the above, because I have friends on here that mostly do film stuff, and then I have friends that mostly do book stuff. So I kind of just figured what's personal to you.
Okay. Okay. I can't remember what it is, but some artist, some music person came out with a song this year, and I read the lyrics, and I just felt so bad reading.
Can you at least kind of describe them, just for
well,
reference?
I think it was Cardi B, but I don't know if it was Cardi. See, sometimes like all these things just run together, where it's just, I know it's awful, and you read it and it's just bad, and you feel bad, because I feel bad on some level. I know as a woman, because I feel bad that I'm a woman, and I'm like, I have to explain this to decent men now. So, I think yeah. I don't want to say it's the WAP song. That was last year.
I was gonna say.
Didn't want to say anything, but you brought it
Maybe
up.
It was a Megan Thee Stallion thing too. I will say I saw just the clips from She-Hulk made me cringe though. I'm like,
that show sucked so much.
Well, see, like, I know lawyers, like actual lawyers, and they're in my family. And
I will say in WAP's defense, it did create the beautiful meme of Ben Shapiro reads the lyrics of WAP.
Oh, did he have to deal with that too? Well, there you go. Ben
He
Shapiro
read the
buys something in
lyrics
common.
on his show, and it was
whores in this house. There's some whores in this house.
There
are some
whores in this house. There are some whores in this house.
I feel like
Wet a P word.
Wet a P word.
Well, and they're just going to complain about baby, it's cold outside this year too, and it's just like, I never want to hear any complaints from you ever again. Thanks.
Are we still on that?
Well, I had a feeling that they would jump from that one to Santa Claus is coming to town, because he sees you when you're sleeping and he knows when you're awake.
I mean, I always thought that was creepy to begin with, so I understand it.
Yeah, it's taken another turn for the worse. So maybe they've switched to that one this year.
Now you can't cancel Santa. There's way too much erotica.
Oh, well, see, that's
like,
oh geez,
like Cloud. I found Cloud yesterday. You can imagine what it means with Santa winking on the cover.
If someone wants a free idea, there's probably an idea to do like that Winnie the Pooh horror movie, but with Santa. Just.
I think Santa Claus is public domain, so you could probably get away with it.
Well, yeah, he was the Bishop of Myrna. You can't really. He was a real guy. So what are you gonna do? I guess you could get in trouble with the Coca-Cola Corporation, but that's about it.
I think that would more be trademark infringement, and that's if you use the specific character that Coca-Cola did.
So instead, he'd be drinking an off-brand Pepsi or something.
In England, Father Christmas used to be green colored, so you could just do like an off-colored variation and just like do like lean into like the Celtic roots of it, being like, "Ooh, he's an impish gnome, but he breaks into my house and stabs you if you've been a bad naughty boy."
I still like the St. Nicholas thing where you go around and punch heretics. So
technically, that's apocryphal, but the story is very entertaining.
Hey Tyler, I gotta hop off here tonight. Thanks for having me on. I hope you guys have a great Christmas. We gotta go start packing since my house is finally back up to temperature. So,
oh, good.
Is the power
I
back
was
on?
actually gonna say
my
I hope
power's back. I've been out with power.
Yay.
I've been without power for the last 4 hours. So,
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
geez.
and we've
Well,
had sub-zero temperatures here in Kansas. So, holy cow!
Good luck.
Yeah, I've
I
got
don't.
a ton of stuff I got to do tonight. So, thank you for letting me come join your show tonight, brother. Appreciate it.
Oh, anytime, man. I enjoy our talks, so
Absolutely.
I appreciate you
Same
jumping on.
time. When I get my podcast launched, you'll be one of my first guests. So,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
all right,
All
so
right.
you've been warned, right?
So you've been warned. Thank you guys. Have a great night.
Oh, bye,
Nice
Blake.
meeting you.
Appreciate it.
Bye. Good
Nice
luck.
to meet you guys too. Thanks.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We've been going for a while. I think the only thing we haven't talked about with CS. Did you hear our earlier conversation about ghosts?
No, I just put my kids down. So, yep, they're in bed. So I didn't hear anything.
Well, we were debating the possibility of the existence of ghosts, and everyone kind of had a different thought. Do you believe in ghosts?
Yeah, the Holy Ghost.
Well, yeah. I mean, but like the ghosts.
I tend to think of them as like more like demonic spirits. So that'd probably be my take. It's not really that original, I don't think.
That's fair. That was kind of the consensus-ish opinion that came out of our discussion, because we all put kind of a hard subject to parse in a sort of meaningful way.
I like the idea of them in literature. Like I think the Christmas Carol time, is a Christmas Carol as the ghost of the future Christmas and the present Christmas and past Christmas and stuff. I think it's a really good plot device. So
that's fair. And obviously, ghost stories are a huge literary thing. So that's not, and particularly around Christmas. I brought it up earlier, but I just finished writing a piece on Washington Irving, and he brings that up. And in English folklore, ghost stories are always an English a Christmas tradition, not so much a Halloween tradition.
I think it's a nice time for it because you kind of have the leftovers from Halloween, and then you go into Christmas. So
it does kind of capture that. It just kind of captures that winsome sadness around Christmas too.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, a lot of people have like this is a hard time of the year for some people, just because family's gone, and this is our first year without Queen Elizabeth II, and people that we liked and people that we looked to are gone. And
am I allowed to say that was a funny hard left turn?
I'm just thinking of important people that we lost, and I'm like, yeah, I felt bad when Queen Elizabeth II died.
I was just gonna say, it's just like there's something funny about it being like, it was a really hard year. Queen died.
Yeah, this is coming from an American.
Okay.
Yeah, coming from an American. Well,
that
no,
adds
I love
another layer to that. But
yeah, well, I love British literature and just I love European history. Like I have my minor in history, and I've studied different things. I really like British literature, especially though. So it's you can kind of there's much more of there's a lot of depth to it that you don't get stateside, I guess.
Well, there's another 500 years of it than ours tradition. That you get more of it just by right of it being old.
Well, British tradition is kind of like passed down through the blood, though. I mean, it is a kingdom based on more ethnicity than anything else. I mean, I know they've moved to more of a credo sort of centric culture like America has, but America has to be reborn every 20 years. It seems. Where it's like you find like like the youth people are like, hey, this thing that was cool 20 years ago, look how awesome it is. And it's like you're sitting there, it's like, oh, but you'll get tired of it, and then you'll wonder why you did it.
Well, that was one of the interesting things I was reading in Washington Irving's sketchbook, is that he kind of talks about the fact that for the first 30 years of the existence of the United States, the entire American literary cultures did not exist because there were no writers that could reasonably write on par with English writers.
Yes.
So what ended up happening is it just kind of the entire U.S. just kind of developed this kind of vassal tradition where it felt like it was ancillary to English literature. And he just straight up has to address that right at the beginning of the book, because at that point there were no successful American authors in England. So he just has to say, it's like, we're a young country. We haven't figured out our identity yet, but we have to kind of respect you and follow your lead until we figure this out and figure out who we are, figure out what we mean to be, how we express that through our writing. And lo and behold, he wrote the first successful American book that was ever well received in England. So.
Oh, nice. I was going to say, I know Walt Whitman was the first poet that really kind of stuck out in terms of style from the British tradition going to the American. So
when was he relatively?
I want to say it was like 1800s.
Well, I know that, but I didn't know if it, because I imagine he might have been influenced by Irving, because pretty much every 19th century writer borrowed from Irving in some way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's actually part of it, though, because like America was originally an extension of British culture with like the mercantile system and everything, and then it moves on to its own identity, and you see a lot more like survivalist fiction, like moving into like Stephen Crane and then Mark Twain and everything. So
yeah, it kind of becomes its own by the end of the century.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of figure out who you are, I think, first by understanding what you're not sometimes.
We are not England. This is.
Oh, but if you grew up, under like British parents or immigrant parents from British, and I mean, a lot of the culture was carried over a lot of culture started with the church, and that's a universal thing in its own right. Like a lot of Christianity can fold into its own culture, but it also can preserve it. So. I imagine I'm not really surprised that it took so long as it did for real good fiction to come out of America. I'm also not surprised to see that it's probably like it's the quickest to go too.
Well, this is something I think I talked a little about this with Ian. Like, there's America kind of has like a general resistance to writers to some degree. There's just kind of this general disdain for artistry, artists, just kind of people who try to be, legitimate through their letters. There's kind of there's the famous, get a real job meme. It's like, oh, I'm going to be a writer. Good for you. Go get a real job. It's like there's kind of this. It can be really hard to kind of be a self-sufficient artist in this country, and when you wouldn't have that kind of stigma in other countries necessarily.
Oh, well, maybe I need to move there then.
I don't know.
No.
I mean, it'd be curious to sell yourself as an American abroad, because usually the ones that do the rest are the ones that are like, oh, I'm an American, but I'm not that American.
Well, that's like that with most things, though. I think since we have like the global village is shrinking and homogenization is taking over in a larger leaps and bounds than it has prior. It takes more work to stand out, and then we're on the cusp of like a brave new world here with a lot of AI writing and stuff. So I'm sure a lot of people take what I do for granted. Even today, though, like my husband is like slowly waking up that I actually do like something worth. I mean, like he's always supported me, but it's kind of hit him today that it's really actually important that I do this. Because he looked, his teachers recommended that they look up, like the parents look up reading levels in the system using Goodreads, which it's an Amazon owned review site. I like my Goodreads account. And I'm like, yeah, you can find stuff there. But he tried looking it up by level, and a lot of the stuff he found wasn't appropriate for the children, if you know what I mean. That's
Yeah,
on
nowadays.
a lower reading level and stuff. So he actually is pretty proud of me for, saying, yeah, our kids can read what I write, in a few years. And a lot of my books, like if they want something in it, I usually do stuff for them in it. I'm finishing up my one series, my Life of Pi series this week, and the main character that's murdered is I asked them what I should name her, and I actually kind of laughed because they said Martha, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll get a lot of Snyderverse fans to like this, maybe, or maybe hate it. I don't know.
Good to see Ethan back. Is the baby all right?
I'm back for real. She is finally asleep. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Excellent.
I call, before I jumped off for a few minutes, I just remember hearing screaming, and then you just by the time I came back, you were gone.
That wasn't even very loud.
It sounds worse over the internet.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I realized. I thought she was playing. I thought, well, maybe I can get in here and just mute when I'm not talking. But then I quickly realized that wasn't going to work. So that's why I had to jump off while you were gone.
Yeah, you would not believe how many people I invited in this podcast whose response was, "I can't come on. I have to put the kids to bed."
Yeah, there's an upcoming podcast I'm going to do where we both agreed we can't do it until after 9 or 10 because of the children.
Oh my. I will say I did see the McDonoughs briefly pop up in the chat earlier. If I know we invited them, but they're busy with their 5 Latter-day Saint children, so I'm sure they've got their hands full. So
yeah, I was talking to Eric, and he said he was going to try to pop on, but it would have to be after the kids went to sleep, and he would have to see if you were still going or not. So I think he's going to try if he can, but if not, that'll have to be the way it is, I guess.
We've been going for 2.5 hours. Like, I don't know much longer we're going to go, but if he does want to jump on, he's more than welcome.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And yeah. So, and if you're about to end, I apologize. I got on as soon as I could.
I haven't talked to you in a while.
I know.
How are your projects coming along?
Oh, I mean, I've got several irons in the fire at the moment. Let's see. I have a review that's going to be coming out in Literary Matters in February, I think. I'm working on a specific project for the Dispatch. I'm not anywhere close to done on that, though. And then, let's see, a few different things. I'm going to be working on kind of a awards season time review of Everything Everywhere All at Once for Titus over at the Postmodern Conservative. So I got some things like that going on.
Oh, that's cool. What was your take on that movie, by the way?
Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Yes.
When I first watched it, I liked it okay. But I've come to kind of despise it.
I felt it was very apologetic. I'm like, it's okay to be a loser. Yeah, it's okay to be a loser.
Oh. Yeah.
I don't know what would have been my primary takeaway from that. But I could see that read, but it just kind of struck me as like borderline total nihilist. It's kind of like the movie is kind of just acknowledges just how bleak the implications of its story are.
Yeah.
But it just kind of dances around it, being like, "Oh, it's okay. You are a meaningless speck in the greater spectrum of the universe."
Yeah.
But love.
Yeah, I mean, it has a kind of hipster nihilism that I've definitely come to really, really strongly dislike, if not outright hate. You see it in their stuff, the Daniels stuff. You see it. Let's see, who else can I think of? You definitely see it in the Safdie brothers, 2 movies, especially Uncut Gems. Stuff like that. I just come to really have a strong distaste for it overall as I mature as a person, I think.
Yeah, that movie's thrown me for a loop because I'm trying to figure out how I want to do my best of the year list, and I can't quite decide if I want to go by technical proficiency or if I want to go by values. And it's kind of hard to decide because the technical proficiency part of me says, oh, it's probably the first or second best film this year, just from a pure filmmaking, structure, writing level. And then the values part of me being like, this movie is about literally staring into the void, the everything bagel of nothingness.
But I mean, I would
looks back at you.
I would argue that the ending even makes the story bad, and I know a lot of people would disagree with me, but values aside, which I always tend to strongly rank things based on how I feel they respond to the world and how human they are. I mean, it really has an ending that is a complete cop-out, in my opinion, as far as worldview goes. It has Chinese immigrant characters who never acknowledge the way that Buddhism or any other kind of Chinese spirituality deals with the problems that they're trying to go through. To me, it's bad as far as story goes at the end too. And that's something I didn't see until I rewatched it. So, but I mean, the everything bagel at the end is just silliness. Yeah.
I mean, the Daniels aren't Buddhists, so it doesn't surprise me that they wouldn't make a movie that's influenced by that culture.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like if you're gonna have it be Chinese immigrants, you've got to at least. You don't have to, but I guess I see it as a shame because you even see a lot of the great Chinese movies that are still coming out, even though some of them can be communist China propaganda. They still acknowledge a long history of spiritualism in China, and like Zhang Yimou's movies, which of course are my favorite, like the like Shadow that came out a few years ago, stuff like that,
I would absolutely love to see the Buddhist version of that movie where it's the spiritual reckoning of what does it mean to stare into the void when you have that spiritual system.
Yeah, and I mean, for her character, it would probably have to be she didn't believe in that anymore, and there should have been a reckoning with that somehow. Not that a movie has to, not that just because your characters are from a particular place, they have to confront the spiritualism of that place. I'm not saying that.
No.
But when there is a whole, Buddhism does confront all of the problems raised by that movie and has direct answers for them. And to ignore that seems a loss and a shame. But I mean, I suppose you could argue that the movie's partially about that too.
Well, speaking of values, did you see RRR?
I have seen part of it. I have not finished it yet. But I'm enjoying that one.
Okay, because that's definitely going to be my best film of the year.
I don't know if I would say it's my best film of the year or not, but I haven't watched enough movies this year or last year or in the last few years to really feel like I can say I can come up with a yearly list because I've been watching so much old stuff and doing other things like that too. But I think RR was definitely up there along with in the same kind of vein almost for the audience as Top Gun Maverick.
I mean, just as a story, RRR it's such an authentic, natural story that I've seen a lot of people compare it to like old school biblical epics and that kind of filmmaking where there's so much sincerity and emotion and just well told storytelling that's gone into it. And also it's a 3-hour musical epic about why nationalist heroes should overthrow a corrupt government. So maybe it's just hitting me in an interesting way. I don't know why.
I think a lot of the different Indian schools of movie making right now do have things that a lot of the kind of audience we favor could enjoy, but it's a little bit of a hard pill to swallow because their movies are so extremely extravagant. But I mean, they definitely have a love for like old Hollywood stuff. If you hear the Indian directors talk and in interviews, it's so funny the number of Indian directors I've seen mention how much they love Clint Eastwood. Like no one American director, recently has said that they love Clint Eastwood, but it's an interesting cinema they have there.
If you want to see a trip, read the director of RRR is Rajamouli. Read his Sight and Sound contribution.
I did. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
It's great. I love it. Speaking of the devil, we appears one of the McDonoughs has joined in.
Hello, this is Eric.
Hi, Eric.
How's it going, guys? Yeah, I heard you guys talking about me.
I figured you were probably listening in.
Yeah, I've got little Allison in my arms right now, but I figured I would try what Ethan did and pop on and mute myself if I need to, and if it doesn't work, whatever.
It didn't work for me, but mine is a little bit older than yours, so.
Yeah, she's a month old, so.
Yeah, that might work for you.
How is it going with Son on the newborn?
Oh, good. She just returned to work yesterday. She had 6 weeks off.
Nice.
Yeah, and she's been great, so everything's good.
Good to hear that. And now I get to subject you to the 5 questions of pain. So,
let's hear it.
The airspeed velocity of an unrelated swallow.
Oh, you haven't asked me these questions yet, right?
Oh, did I not?
Yeah, do Ethan first.
What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
I don't remember. That's so anticlimactic.
It's from Monty Python.
Yeah, I mean, I know what it's from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, but I don't remember the answer.
In the movie, Arthur only manages to avoid the question by asking another question which kind of swallow, European or African? And then the questioner gets thrown into the chasm of death. So
yeah, well, I mean, I do like that movie, but I haven't seen it 100 times, so I don't know.
That's like one of my last remaining nerd credit at this point is that I have half that movie memorized. So
I like the show a lot better than the movie.
That movie feels like a crystallization of like all the best parts of the show.
Did you see the philosophers soccer match that John Cleese posted during the beginning of the World Cup?
No, but he was going off in weird stuff on Twitter recently.
Yeah, it's a really funny skit they did on the show that you should look up. Yeah, it's like basically the Greeks versus the Enlightenment.
Oh, so it's basically him redoing. Well, that's an old Monty Python sketch. So
that's what I'm talking about. The old Monty Python sketch.
Okay. And now the Ladies' Club of Edinburgh creates the Battle of Pearl Harbor. It went so well last year after we did Nazi war atrocities. Anyway, I'll just have both of you answer the same questions at the same time.
Cool.
What was the best part of 2022 for you?
For me, it was the birth of my first daughter.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say the same, too.
Does that count as cheating if you both answer the same question?
I mean, how can it not be?
So,
if you say anything other than that, I mean, hopefully you mean it, which I do, and I'm sure Eric does. But if you didn't say that, that'd be so terrible.
Yeah, it's a pretty obvious
the other guy's
answer.
test, being like, "Well, it's true, but I just phrased it the same way." Is it plagiarism if it's true?
No, well, that's a good question. I think it's an uninteresting question.
No, it's not plagiarism because it's a different kid.
Exactly. By the way,
what am I supposed to say, Tyler?
Yeah. By the way, C.S. Johnson and Ian, good to meet you all.
Oh, well, thank you. It's nice meeting you guys too.
Yeah, good meeting you guys.
I know we've crossed Twitter wires before, but I don't think I've ever spoken to you.
Yep.
Yeah, same.
I'm aware of you guys.
Yes, thanks to Tyler. To Tyler, I get to follow all kinds of awesome people.
Yeah, I don't know when that happened, but I became a master of networking.
Hey,
I mean, for my own benefit. I don't know.
No, it's I've got to know a lot of cool people through you, so thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to facilitate interesting conversations. That's why this podcast is a groups of people that I've literally never met before. And
oh well, you're welcome to come visit if we can get a good time down.
Oh yeah.
So I guess you come visit again because you came visit me before.
I did. I do want to go back to Atlanta at some point, but
Atlanta's awesome. My favorite city.
Okay, well you should back my Kickstarter then when it comes out.
Hey,
We'll do a launch party in Atlanta, and that'll be the first time me and Ethan ever actually meet in person.
Okay. You guys can camp out in my backyard.
yes.
We'll make this work.
But the question is, what part of Atlanta do you live in? No, you don't have to answer that.
Don't dox yourself.
Yeah,
okay.
don't dox yourself. I was just.
Oh, it's North Atlanta on the Kickstarter. So.
Anyway, questions. What is your favorite part of Christmas, Eric and Ethan?
For me, my favorite part of Christmas, man, I love everything about Christmas, but I mean, I think it's more like the concept to me. I love how all out so many people go for Christmas who don't usually go. I mean, I kind of got this wording from Joseph Bottom, who wrote an awesome article, and I wish I could remember it so that I could, plug it here. But basically, he talked about in that article how at Christmas time, the barrier between us and the spiritual world is so much thinner than it is at other times. And just the birth of Christ is such a miracle, such a supernatural miracle in the world that people ought to react in crazy ways to it. And so I just love that people do. Even secular people are often unknowingly embracing the Christian myth. And of course, then they post Facebook posts about saying it's pagan or whatever, silliness like that. But, it's still like the myth of Santa Claus is still alive and all that. These are Christian mythologies. I just love how all out people go. That's my answer.
Ian had to drop out, but she said Merry Christmas and good night. So
Merry Christmas.
How about you, Eric?
I think my favorite part is just kind of making family traditions, which is really fun when you have little kids. Kind of coming up with like what's your own game plan around the holidays, and sometimes it's really hard. Like I think Sana and I are both crazy busy. And it's hard to like dedicate the time to try to think about like what are we going to do with our kids to make it memorable and special for them, and it's just kind of fun to juggle that, I think.
All right. Two-part question. What is your favorite thing you've read and or watched this year? And second question, what is the cringiest thing you've read or watched this year?
Oh, awesome. Okay. My favorite thing I've watched this year. Well, I'll go ahead and say watched because read is a little bit harder for me. Does it need to be stuff that came out this year or not?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll try to stick to stuff that came out this year. My favorite thing I think that my favorite movie that came out this year that I watched and just kind of interacting with people on was Walter Hill's most recent B movie, basically very cheap movie, Dead for a Dollar. I think that it has a lot of good things to it that a lot of people haven't recognized. I feel like a few more people are recognizing it slowly, and I've done my best to evangelize it, and that's been kind of fun. It seems like every year I get at least one movie that I get to have a lot of good interactions with people on. The cringiest thing is Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks in Elvis and Tom Hanks in Pinocchio. So those are my two answers.
That's a fair answer. Although I did find that Tom Cruise gave us at least one or two of the best memes this year. So good for I appreciate that and nothing else.
Those are good answers.
You're not allowed to plagiarize another answer.
No, I'm not. So the favorite thing I watched this year, I watched it like a month or two ago. Canyon Passage.
Yes.
I'd heard good things, but I don't think it's often cited as one of the best Westerns. I mean, maybe it's on the second list of best Westerns. I don't know, but I watched it and it just kind of like, I don't know, it just kind of has never entered or has never left my mind since I was done watching it. I think it's fascinating and kind of weird, but wonderful. And yeah, I mean, highly recommended. I found a lot of symbolism in it, very biblical. The characters all behaving very strangely, and it just, I don't know, I took to it, liked it a lot. Let's see, was cringiest the second question?
Yeah.
Cringiest thing, probably, I watched, Ursana and I tried to watch one episode of the Santa Claus show on Disney Plus, and maybe it's good if you keep watching, but we just both were kind of laughing because I think the only part we saw was they were flying through the air and like threw up a piece of food and then flew and caught the food in their mouths or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but we just both kind of laughed and changed it to something else.
I actually like that show. Maybe it was just me because I have nostalgic memories for the original Santa Claus movies.
Like I said, we didn't give it much of a chance, but we both thought that part was funny. And
That's
also
fair.
the original Santa Claus, we literally just watched it tonight, and I mean, it's pretty cheesy too. I've always liked it, but it's actually cringy to watch because you kind of see the I guess the stepdad. You see it from his perspective more, I guess, as you get older than when I was a kid watching it, and it's actually really funny to watch and think about how, like, from his perspective, Tim Allen's character is like literally just completely insane and a menace and a danger to the kid. And like watching it from that perspective tonight, I was just like, wow, this is kind of hard to watch. Because like, again, he's seeing it and he's like to his wife or to the mother, he's like, why are we letting the kid go to this guy?
I did see Jay Bauman said he watched Christmas with the Cranks, and he was like, "This movie was written by an absolute sociopath."
Yeah.
Oh man, I have never been able to enjoy Christmas with the Cranks. I got to be honest.
I don't think any. I watched it once, and there's like a fraction of it that's forgivable, but it's a movie that's like trying to portray humans from a non-human perspective. It's so weird.
Wow. I mean, I just, to me, everything about it is so bad. I know people love it. Like, one of my best friends in real life is like one of his favorite Christmas movies. I just do not understand.
I don't know. Yeah, I told you before, I have an idea for writing a book on the film theory about Christmas movies, just because I think the topic is so weird and fascinating. Just like people, there's no thought that goes into Christmas movies. People just, it's all nerve. It's all like what connects to you. It's so personal.
I would like to read that book.
If I ever get around to writing it, yeah. But it's one of those things where I don't know how to write it in a way that won't just step on everyone's toes and be like, here's an academic and cold way of saying you have a very strange taste.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think people like intentionally like bad Christmas movies, though.
Yeah.
Knowingly, and there's kind of something fun about that.
Yeah.
Like Sana likes the Santa Buddies movie.
Oh, I have my own film theories about buddies movies.
Yep. Yeah. Sana literally, I mean, she doesn't like actually like it, but she puts it on almost every year just to laugh about it and have fun.
I think there are some that are ironic, but the majority aren't. Because every time I've ever, everyone has their token 2 or 3 Christmas movies they watch every year, and then there's about 20 others that they don't. And then when you get sucked into someone else's world and they're forced to sit down and watch something, and it plays with your brain in weird ways because you're watching someone just like crying as they watch Jingle All the Way, and you're just sitting here being like, what is this? Like,
now I do like Jingle All the Way. I gotta be honest.
My kids watched that tonight, so
that's my point. Like, I didn't watch it until I was like 23, and I'm just sitting here watching it and like, this is okay. It's kind of funny. There's a point, and like my best friends are sitting there just like weeping and just like, what is happening?
Well, that is a little strange.
But that's the point though, is like there's this like emotional disconnect that's so specific, and I want to kind of dig into that.
Well, that ties into my love of how all out people go. It, like, you know, people are so sentimental at Christmas. I got to be honest, I just love that. I love that people like who normally don't watch bad movies are watching all these bad movies unironically. It's so great. I don't know. There's something I can't exactly put into words well, but there's something
it's
wonderful
wholesome.
about it. Yes, it's wholesome in a good.
Yeah.
It's wholesome in a non-memey way.
Yeah, well, like probably my favorite Christmas movie is Home Alone, the Home Alone stuff, like 1 and 2. And I watched that that was the first Christmas movie I think I watched with my kids. And you love it. And at the end of the day, it is a lot more wholesome. If you watch the recent one that came out, it's so bad. And it's not, I mean, everything has to kind of just be, you know, mean stuff instead of funny mean, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's someone out there that looked at the new Home Alone and just, you know, burst into tears, and it became the new yearly Christmas movie.
Oh, well, I think one of the biggest problems I have with society today in general is that a lot of goodwill has been eroded, and you don't give it a whole lot either. But I mean, like, I'm a person of goodwill. So like I had some guy come up to me at the store and he's like, "Hey, I like your shirt." And I'm like, I'm standing there in like my one shirt, and it's like, I'm just a mom, you know, it's like, it was nice. So I said, "Thank you." I didn't think he was being pervy or anything. But if I explain that story to somebody else, you know, it eventually comes up, you know?
Yeah.
So, no, I wish we had more goodwill, and I wish we had more good faith things too. Like a lot of criticism in film stuff that I listen to, and that, you know, even in some level I partake in, depending on what it is. You know, like a lot of it seems to be made in bad faith. Like you don't have to explain every little thing that in like a science fiction fantasy sort of. I mean, like, that loses the kind of like the wonder of it, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like people talking about plot holes all the time. Too much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See, I don't mind plot holes because I mean that's a story thing that like logically sort of makes sense on some level. Like, and some of them are like more imagined. I'll grant you that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also if you like watch the movie, you can sometimes like people say there's a plot hole, but there's not really. Like one of the big ones with the Home Alone thing is like, well, why didn't they just call the police? And like the phone lines were out, and a lot of other people were out and stuff. And
thank you for
like,
saying that.
Yes.
Well, I also think the plot hole thing is a little subjective because, you know, there's a lot of movies with absolutely egregious plot holes where it doesn't matter to the end. Like, Raiders of the Lost Ark or, you know, Terminator 2. Like, there's some glaring ones, but the films are just so good at like keeping the wheels spinning that you don't think about it until afterward. And then afterward, you're like, wait a minute, nothing in Inception actually made sense.
Well, this it
doesn't matter because it's all about like the question of, is he dreaming or not? And like, it doesn't matter because he doesn't care if he's, you know, lost in his own dreams. But
this goes back to your question. You're just talking about when you're putting together your top 10 or whatever your top favorite movies of the year. I mean, when we watch movies or stories, I mean, to me, it has become more and more important to emotionally connect and for it to be human and to ring true with human emotions. You know, like I love how, you know, everybody thinks of Pauline Kael, you know, as this like hard-nosed critic who is really hard on everything, but her reviews are always full of her emotional reaction to the movie, you know. And you know, another one of my favorite current critics, who is very controversial, Armand White. You know, his is all about his emotional reaction to it as well. And to me, I mean, the plot holes, I'm very forgiving in plot and stuff like that. If it can connect with me, on a human level.
Sometimes like it's not necessarily a plot hole, but it's like something that just got misunderstood. Like I have books and I have reviews, so it's like occasionally I get people that are like, "I hate this book," and they'll list all the problems with it. And you know, sometimes I'll read them just because some kind of sadomasochistic impulse, I guess. But like sometimes those things are intentional, like they're part of the character and just kind of got overlooked in some way, you know. And it's like I just kind of want to reach the screen and be like, hey, you're wrong. But I kind of just have to ignore them. So
I hate to cut things off, but I'm past 3 hours, and I think my grandpa's a little bit antsy for dinner. So I think I might need to call it for now. But
oh man, feed your grandpa.
Yeah.
Why are you abusing your grandpa?
Yeah, man.
What the heck?
I don't want to be mean to my podcast host who lives thousands of miles away from me on the internet, but you know, this is a great conversation, and I want to keep going, but I just need to kind of cut things off quickly. So,
well, you'll just have to do this weekly then, Tyler.
Okay, I do it weekly. It's called the AntiSocial Network. But
oh yeah, that's right. Well, you need to invite like me back on then, I guess, because that's the real reason you want to stay.
I'm happy to do more of this kind of specific conversation, but I think we need to call it for tonight.
Okay.
But thank you all. Do you guys want to plug your stuff real quick?
Can I post the link, or is that your job?
You can throw whatever or you can DM me anything you want me to add into the link dump, and I'll throw it in.
Okay. I started getting a little bit more serious about my YouTube channel. I actually, it's funny, we were talking about reviews. I was going to plug it, but I'm starting a podcast with some of my other friends, writer friends, and we're doing a monthly book club. And our first book is Art in the Bible. So if you guys haven't read it, I think you'd like it for criticism points, because it actually talks about how Christians can view like secular work, and it talks about interesting things like that. I've read it before, but it's been a while. So, but I'll be hosting it, so it'll be on my YouTube channel. So
cool.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Ethan?
Yep. So
yeah, you can follow most of my stuff. I kind of aggregate a lot of different things on my Twitter at Heavy Metal Pin. Like that's at a Heavy Metal Pin. So that kind of bring together a lot of stuff there.
All right.
I'm on Twitter too at ConFilmBuff. I'll spoil the surprise a little bit, Ethan. Ethan's gonna be on my wife and my podcast. We're going to resurrect it. It's been about a year and a half. Because we had a kid last April and we had another one last month, so it's been busy. But we're going to resurrect the podcast. It's called The Movie Shelf, so look for it on podcast apps. And we're going to talk about Adam Sandler movies.
That's right. Can't wait.
Okay, well, I'll look forward to that. But again, thank you guys so much for coming on, and thank you for everyone that's been on. I know this is a bit of an eclectic group. I'm sure a couple people probably felt a little lost in discussion, and I hope no one felt left out. But everyone, thank you so much for coming on. I brought everyone on because you're all like my favorite people I know on the internet, and I wanted to kind of just have a chance to talk on non-official, thematically approved grounds, just based on how my podcast usually plays out. But I hope this was enjoyable and everyone felt, it had a good time in this chat today. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, Tyler. We love you too, Tyler.
Oh, thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.